What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the PFF NFL show. Trevor, Sikkema, Dalton, Wasserman here with you guys once again to talk about Week 15 in the NFL. What we're going to do here on the show, release the grades. We're going to give you the top 5 graded players for every single team and every single matchup that we have seen so far in Week 15. We got one more game to go on Monday Night Football. But we're going to talk about a lot of things. The stat that told the story, how we got to the result, the most impressive, the most disappointing. We'll tell you kind of what it means for the playoff picture, for the draft picture, all that great stuff. Dalton? How you doing, my friend?
Good. It feels like December football, doesn't it? Myself and our good friend and betting analyst, Mason Cameron, were at the Bengals-Ravens game yesterday.
Yeah, you guys are psycho.
10 degrees at kickoff.
Yep. Hold on. Wait a second. 10 degrees at kickoff for this game, because it was cold in so many of these games, which played a factor into the results. Neither of you are Bengals fans. So
Nope.
You braved the elements of minus 10 degrees.
As a neutral
Just were there to observe some football type of fans.
Yep.
That's some true psycho stuff.
It helps living right down the block and just getting back home 5 minutes after you just walk out.
Did you stay for the whole game?
No, we left at the pick six.
Okay.
Once that happened, it was like,
okay,
we don't. This last 8 minutes, we're good. We don't need to freeze our asses off for this one. Once the pick six hit, then that was it.
There's a lot of results that went into what is kind of a crazy playoff picture right now. I mean, sorry, Chiefs fans. The Chiefs get eliminated, yes, and it's this weird feeling of like, whoa. I think that people looked at Kansas City, and now this is just all going to be about the Kansas City Chiefs, but to kind of like start the conversation here, and it's like, okay, they didn't start great, but like, well, we know they'll be in the playoffs. And a lot of these teams that maybe didn't start super well, we thought to ourselves, yeah, but I mean, they're at least going to make it. Maybe not the case. We might be turning over a new leaf for a lot of these teams and a lot of what the playoff looks like for a lot of these teams. So, you want to start off with Sunday Night Football?
Absolutely.
As we always do here. Minnesota Vikings and the Dallas Cowboys. Vikings. J.J. McCarthy. 9. Coming away victorious here. 34-26 was the final score here for this one. The top 5 graded players that we had for the Minnesota Vikings. Edge rusher Jonathan Grenard at the very top of the list with a 90.5. Wide receiver Jalen Nailor with an 86.0. Had 2 touchdowns in this game. Tight end T.J. Hockenson, I believe, led all Vikings receivers in receiving yards here. 82.4 overall grade. Cornerback Fabian Moreau with a 79.6. And then linebacker Eric Wilson with a 78.7. J.J. McCarthy in this one, an 89.7. Your eyes do not deceive you. That is the grade for J.J. McCarthy there on the Vikings. On Dallas' side of things, their offensive guard Tyler Smith was their highest graded player with an 83.4. Wide receiver CeeDee Lamb with an 80.7. Defensive tackle Quinnen Williams an 80.7. Edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney with an 80.2. Center Cooper Beebe a 76.2. And then Dak Prescott a 69.5 overall grade. Dalton, this basically puts the Cowboys in a situation where I think they have to win out, and I think the Eagles have to lose out.
And that would be to the Commanders twice and to the Bills.
In order for the Cowboys to make the playoffs. So doesn't look like it's happening this year for Dallas. But what was your stat that told the story overall? Was it a Dallas point or was it a Vikings point?
I'll stay because McCarthy is obviously the main story here. We'll get into him in a minute. But with the Cowboys season effectively over, obviously there's roughly, they say, a 1% chance that they could get in. They have to win all 3, and the Eagles have to lose all 3 of their games, including twice to the Commanders. You look at this Cowboys team, they did somewhat fix the defensive line. Drafting Donovan Ezeraku was a plus. The trade for Quinnen Williams really worked. Jadeveon Clowney, some veteran guys in there playing well up front. But at the end of the day, this Cowboys team, the secondary, the back 7 of this defense, just not good enough in coverage. For the 6th time this season, a team coverage grade under a 45. And the only team for the season worse than them in coverage grade is the Las Vegas Raiders, who might be the worst team in football right now.
Oh, they're better than the Commanders?
The Cowboys. Yeah, the Commanders are better. They're ahead of the Cowboys.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Because that's not – how many times have we talked about the Commanders this year as one of the worst in the NFL? So I'm surprised to hear that the Cowboys are once again now below a team like that. Because this is 2 years in a row now that the Cowboys have been bad in coverage.
I want to say the Commanders are 30th. They're next on that list.
Yeah.
Commanders and Jets are the next 2, but it's Raiders and Cowboys that are the 2 worst. And at the end of the day, their secondary giving up all these big plays on the back end. Just too many wasted now good efforts from their front 7 because they can't cover. There's too many miscommunications. There's too much basic zone coverage. It's easy for quarterbacks to see and to manipulate. They bite up too hard on play action. And you just look at all the stats this season. I think this is really what we're we're going to look at as the primary reason they're missing the postseason here. 29th in yards per attempt allowed, most passing touchdowns allowed through week 15, highest passer rating allowed, 6th highest explosive pass rate allowed. Their back seven's just not good enough.
Yeah.
They did a nice job as the year went on improving the defensive line. Young guys got better, veteran guys played well, but your draft needs pretty much every time that you do a mock now for the Cowboys, and through April, I would expect this to be the case in the actual draft. You're going to take something in the back seven of this defense, whether it's a primetime linebacker, if a safety like Caleb Downs were to somehow fall to them that far, because we know safeties can fall, the best cornerback in the draft available, whatever it's going to be, they have to rebuild the back seven of this defense to get better next season.
Yeah, when I've been doing mock draft exercises for the Broncos, in theory, the guys on paper, you have Deron Bland, you have Trayvon Diggs, again, in theory on the depth chart, but it looks like he's not going to play throughout the rest of the season. He might not play another down for the Dallas Cowboys when it's all said and done. You have Simone Rebel, who is the outside corner there, who struggled this year, but he's getting back to form, coming back from the injury. How much faith do you have in him there? So even though on paper, I think you could look at the names that the Dallas Cowboys have at the cornerback position and say, well, there's at least some players on there. There's a reason to believe that maybe they only believe in Bland moving forward, and they feel like they've got to get another one in there. So I do agree with you. I think that coverage is going to be a major talking point with the Cowboys. On the other side of things, my staff told the story, J.J. McCarthy, 3.01 time to throw here, Dalton. Now, that's not quite under 3. That's the threshold, but 0.1 away from being right at that 3-second time to throw number. And getting under that, I think, is just showing that he's processing things a little bit better. He's able to get the ball out of his hands a little bit quicker, a little bit more confidently. I think that you saw that this game. He had big-time throws. I looked at our coverage splits, and I was trying to see, was he attacking cover 2 really well, or quarters really well, or cover 1 or whatever. He had a big-time throw against cover 0, against cover 1, against cover 2, and cover 6. So he had, of his 4 big-time throws in this game, they were all against a different look on the back end in coverage. So a really great job from McCarthy there. I thought he was very confident in this game, and I just think that he is playing better down the stretch, which is obviously something that's going to be very important for this Vikings team. But I thought he looked really good in this game.
No, yeah, and look, it was a very balanced approach again from Kevin O'Connell with this offense, roughly 50-50 run and pass. And it just felt like the last 2 weeks finally, and in this game again, this offense ran the way that it was supposed to. There was enough support in the run game, especially as the game went on, to ease things up on McCarthy, where he didn't have to throw it 40 to 45 times. McCarthy took advantage with rollouts, with play action, and then took deep shots when it was necessary, right? When guys were open downfield, he was hitting them. This is a very vulnerable secondary, and you're talking about one that you can attack. We've seen it all season with this Dallas secondary. So McCarthy, this was his best game so far, and in his best opportunity so far against such a bad defense. And it's at least good to see him back-to-back weeks against teams like the Commanders and the Cowboys go out there, play well when he's supposed to play well. Obviously, the task will get harder from here in the last 3 games of the season and further into his career. But to see him really go off against these 2 defenses in back-to-back weeks is really nice to see.
Yeah, my most impressive with Jonathan Grenard. I thought he was really great in this game, as he has been a couple of times, not just this past year, but throughout the last couple of seasons. 4 hurries from him in this game. He didn't have any, I don't believe he had any sacks, but he had 4 hurries in this game. 16.7% pass rush win percentage, a 90.2 pass rush grade. He was somebody who was able to rush from the left and the right side. I watched him win on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Really just diverse, talented pass rusher that I think you can build that defensive line and that pass rush plan around. So really good game from him. My most disappointing, honestly, was Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. And really, very clearly, the Cowboys just didn't play well. You mentioned how much they struggled in coverage and all that. But specifically, I think that Dallas has been getting better with just their front 4, and we've praised them for that over the last couple of weeks, which I understand him wanting to lean into just trying to get home with 4 and then having more guys in coverage. But the fact of the matter was it wasn't working in this game, and Eberflus only blitzed J.J. McCarthy 9 times in this game. This is a player who the book on him in his rookie season is if you pressure him, he pretty much crumbles. So if early on you weren't getting home with 4, I would have loved to see second half of this game you really adjust to the point where you are throwing a lot of stuff at him. And I just don't feel like Eberflus was aggressive enough in how he attacked the pocket and how he attacked J.J. McCarthy. He allowed him to sit back, and he allowed him to be too comfortable in this game. So that was my most disappointing thing.
Yeah, heavy zone coverage, heavy four-man rush. That's generally what you get with Matt Eberflus. And like you mentioned, you would wish there was a little more adjustment made. Maybe you pick a game or two here to get aggressive, especially against a young quarterback that you mentioned a 3-second average time to throw. He likes to hold the football. He likes to sit back there, see it, and throw it later in the play. So, Eberflus, obviously it hasn't been a great year for his unit. I think that side of the ball is going to get completely reevaluated this offseason. That could include him as well.
Next game, Bills-Patriots. Looked like the Patriots were cruising to a win where they were up 20. Was it 21-0?
Correct.
21-0 in this game. Buffalo ends up storming back to win, saying, "Not so fast, my friends. We have been division winners for a reason. We're not going to go away quietly here." They win this game 35-31. The top 5 graded players that we had for the Buffalo Bills: cornerback Tre'Davious White with a 91.9. Vintage indeed. Tight end Dawson Knox an 84.7. Offensive tackle Spencer Brown with a 78.3. Edge rusher Greg Rousseau with a 78.0. Running back James Cook a 77.0. And then Josh Allen in this game an 82.5. Heroic come-from-behind performance here from Josh Allen, who is Dalton, he's right there in the MVP conversation. I really do think that with a couple of games left here this season. On New England side of things, running back Travion Henderson with an 83.3. Running back Ramondre Stevenson with an equal 83.3. Boy, how many times has that ever happened? That's kind of funny. Offensive guard Mike Onwenu with a 79.5. Safety Jalen Hawkins a 78.6. Cornerback Carlton Davis a 77.6. And then Drake May in this game a 69.1. So how'd they do it, Dalton? Sad to tell the story here.
I think Drake May, with another year or two of experience, would have won this game.
Yeah.
And every young quarterback goes through this phase. Josh Allen went through it. Joe Burrow's gone through it. Patrick Mahomes, every even great young quarterback has gone through this, where you get a big game like this, and your opponent just sits back, and they make you work for it. They make you work underneath deep too high zone coverages, and they really make you manufacture offense, because Drake May's been arguably the best vertical passer in the NFL this season. But when you look at the Bills and all the too high shells that they throw at him, 20 out of his 28 dropbacks came with too high safeties in coverage, all right? That's basically telling Drake May, you're not getting over the top. He did once early in the first quarter in this game to Kayshon Boutte, but other than that, the deep vertical shots that he's used to getting were not available. Now, did it allow the Patriots to run the ball well? Absolutely. Travion Henderson went off. Ramondre Stevenson was really good in this game. Obviously, the offensive line was really good, but Drake May against too high looks, 9 for 15, 66 yards. An interception to Tre'Davious White that I didn't mind so much. It was basically an arm punt on 3rd and 25. All 3 sacks that he took came against too high shells. And you just look at the way that the Bills were making May manufacture in the passing game. And he was just kind of trying to bang his head against the wall and work against it. Almost a 12-yard average depth of target against too high looks in this game, is 3rd highest of the season against too high looks. I just think when you look at the way that Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich both sat back and made May work underneath and disguised coverages to make him hold the football just a little bit longer, he was just a bit less comfortable than we're used to seeing. And that even came in the biggest moments of the game, where it felt like he was still trying to push for vertical shots down the field, and they just weren't there, and there wasn't enough of just underneath production and yards after catch in this offense to catch up with those too high safety looks. So I think it is really, for as much as, yes, it hurts New England to lose this game, you had a big lead and Josh Allen does Josh Allen things, we'll get to him in a second. To me, this is a great learning experience for Drake May, because this is so often what you're going to get in the playoffs, is teams are going to go, listen, the teams that make the playoffs, they go, listen, you're not going to hit home runs on us. We're going to sit back. We're going to make you work for it. Playoff caliber defenses, they make you work for it 5 and 6 yards at a time. I think Drake May being able to learn from this loss is going to be very important for him. But in this one, Bobby Babich and Sean McDermott got the better of him.
I think that obviously Patriots fans aren't going to be happy about this, but it was fun to, I think, in the moment, be able to realize what we were watching here. And where, like you said, last year with Drake May, with his first year, it was a lot of him just trying to figure it out, create those positive plays, do absolutely whatever he can. This year, specifically, he has taken a massive step forward as a passer, as a processor, everything. And he has leaned back into what he was able to do at UNC when he led the FBS in big-time throws over that 2-year sample size when he was a sophomore and when he was a junior right before he declared. And it's just like a lot of deep shots, a lot of attacking deep down the field, a lot of finding the biggest play. We've seen that for the majority of the season. And then it was like, while we were watching this game, we were like, this is the next step. Like, this is the next level here. He's going up against a very seasoned defensive mind in Sean McDermott, and somebody who a lot of what they do has to do with how well they play deep coverage, right? Sean McDermott was, it feels like, on the forefront 3-4 years ago of saying, okay, yeah, we've got these alien quarterbacks that we go up against, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, whoever it is. We're going to play deep coverage. Beat us underneath. Go ahead. Fine. We're going to play all sorts of deep coverage. We're going to make it really difficult for you to pass deep. And he did that against Drake May in this game. You mentioned the too high safety stuff. Middle of the field, an area where Drake May has been able to attack consistently this season. 88.2 passing grade for Drake May over the middle of the field between the numbers this season. You know what he was in this game? 55.2 overall passing grade. And it's because I think McDermott was doing all sorts of different things, playing all sorts of different looks. I think it was Dan Orlovsky he was talking about this earlier this morning. He was saying that, I believe he was talking about the last 8 offensive plays that the Patriots faced. It was 8 different coverage looks that Drake May saw. He never saw the same coverage twice when the game was on the line. They were able to throw all sorts of different stuff at him, and I just think that it was, again, Patriots fans aren't going to think that this was cool. It was cool for people who are just, didn't have a dog in the fight, if you will, to watch and go, man, that was fun to watch Drake May realize what the next level is, what the next test is, where he has to get better. So that was it was fun to watch a really good back and forth game between a really talented quarterback and a really seasoned defensive mind. Those guys going at it, and I'm excited to see whenever the Patriots and the Bills end up facing off next.
And I don't think it was any coincidence that May had his highest average time to throw of the season, because again, I think the idea was to just make him hold the ball for an extra tick and think about it, right? Instead of
second guess what he's looking at. Yeah.
Right, because there's so often this year where we've seen him hit his back foot and take maybe one hitch, and then that ball's gone, and it's getting vertical quick, right? The teams, look at the teams that have really, made him think about what he's doing back there, right? And you talk about, making him hold the football longer and maybe taking away those deep shots, right? The Bills playing too high coverages. The Saints, a very zone-heavy defense. Atlanta, very zone-heavy defense, also with a good pass rush. Even the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we talked about in that game how New England, it was really just, 4 or 5 explosive plays that made the difference in that game. But otherwise, Drake May was a bit inconsistent. I think that's going to get to be a theme here. Stay over the top. Don't let anything behind you. Make Drake May work for it, because if you give him those vertical shots, he's going to take them, and he's going to hit them more often than not.
Somebody in the chat was talking about, Travion Henderson, how well he was able to play. I think that Henderson obviously was able to play really well in this game, but I think specifically it's because of the Patriots' run blocking in this game. Dalton, I don't know if you realize this, but of Henderson's 140 yards that he had on the ground, 124 of them came before contact. You watch some of the 2 big runs specifically of Travion Henderson. It's his athleticism that allows him to take advantage of those runs the way that he did, but man, a lot of it is that run blocking working for him. Now, I know the one he completely cut back to the other side of the field, so you don't want to take anything from Travion there for that one. That's all him and his athleticism. Well, of course, and Drake May being the leading blocker on that play, which is great to see. But on the other one, man, it was just like the sea was parting open for him, and how well this unit is run blocking. And it's worth repeating over and over again how impressive it is that this Patriots offensive line went from one of the worst in the NFL last year to one that is either middle of the pack or maybe even a little bit better, it feels like, every single week. So they've done an excellent job. And the most disappointing, just that pass receivers just didn't feel like they were really getting open and helping out Drake in this game. And it just felt like they couldn't attack the Bills' secondary, just like Drake May was a little bit hesitant about how to do that himself. And so I think it was a little bit disappointing for that group. But most impressive for me was the offensive line in New England.
It's a great call on the offensive line, too. And keep in mind right now they're playing without their left tackle, Will Campbell, who's been arguably the best guy out of all of them this year. My most impressive guy, look, it's got to be Josh Allen, right? I mean, it's not the most eye-popping numbers you've ever seen, but down 21-0 in New England against a team of that caliber that had won 10 games in a row before this. How many quarterbacks in the NFL can drag his team back from that deficit? right this minute, he might be the only one. Maybe Matt Stafford, maybe Jordan Love if he's running hot, but Josh Allen's the guy that I would pick right now. And you look at it, 70.7 passing grade, 193 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 big-time throws, and an 86 rushing grade to go with it. He is just the one supernova, right? And it's kind of this thing in the AFC where we're not getting Mahomes in the playoffs. We're not getting Joe Burrow in the playoffs. There is at least a decent percentage chance we're not going to get Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. Josh Allen is capable of carrying this team all the way through to the Super Bowl. They just need their defense to make enough stops. They did so in this game. So Allen, once again, making this comeback on the road when the division title was possibly on the line. They may still not win the division, but as long as you have Josh Allen, you're always alive. And then my most disappointing, I think one thing we're going to talk about more so in the offseason, Trevor, the Patriots need a primetime edge rusher.
Yeah.
It's a problem. Their interior pass rush is compromised without Milton Williams right now, but their edge rushers in this game, a 46.6 PFF grade combined for just 3 pressures and an 8.6% pass rush win rate. Kayvon Chason, Harold Landry, they're going to have to be better when New England is going with a 4-man rush in this game. They don't want to blitz a whole lot. Mike Vrabel wants to rely on that 4-man rush, and the interior guys, when healthy, are really good, but they need somebody to step up off the edge, and I think this is something we're going to talk about in the offseason relating to the draft with New England also. They need kind of that closer, right? They need the Micah Parsons or the Aiden Hutchinson type guy who in the fourth quarter can get after it when you're ahead in games. That's the one thing it felt like that was missing when they were ahead in this game.
Let's go on to the Chargers and the Chiefs in the next game here. Chargers win this one 16-13. They sweep Kansas City, because remember they beat them at the very beginning of the season as well. This also eliminates the Kansas City Chiefs from the playoffs here. Top 5 grade players that we had for the Los Angeles Chargers: linebacker Diane Henley with a 91.6, tight end Aronde Gasson with a 90.7, edge rusher Toli Tuipulotu with an 89.5, safety Derwin James Jr. a 79.3, and safety Tony Jefferson with a 77.2. Justin Herbert in this game, a 67.0. On Kansas City side of things, center Creed Humphrey with an 82.8. Edge rusher Ashton Gelati, a 78.3. Cornerback Jalen Watson, an 82.2. Tight end Travis Kelce with a 73.9. And then edge rusher Charles Omenihu with a 73.7. Patrick Mahomes in this game, a 65.2. Most disappointing for me, just overall, just to touch on Mahomes there, torn ACL for Patrick Mahomes, which is obviously devastating for them. Not only are they eliminated from the postseason, but now you're in a situation where best case scenario, Mahomes is back for the beginning of the regular season. But that's best case scenario. I think there's a world where you could start next season without Mahomes. And at that point, we know how good the Chargers are going to be when they're fully healthy. We know how good the Denver Broncos are clearly. I think that you'll probably face one of, if not both of those teams to start the season next year with the divisional teams. Raiders, I think, are a little bit away from competing, certainly depending on a lot of changes that they have to make going in the right direction this offseason. But all that to say, I think the Bengals are going to have a better year next year than they had this year. I think that the Baltimore Ravens certainly could, given Lamar Jackson being hurt and them not playing as well as they have in years past. We know that the Patriots are good. We know that the Bills are good, right? AFC is going to be tough again. And if Mahomes is out for any of it, this is going to be devastating for the Chiefs. So not just this loss, but overall most disappointing is that Mahomes is now in jeopardy to miss some time next season as well.
I think, going into next year for the Chiefs, there have been several moments throughout Andy Reid's tenure where they've had to ask themselves in a given offseason big organizational questions. You even think about when they traded up to draft Mahomes when Alex Smith was taking him to the playoffs every year. That was a huge decision. After they lost the Super Bowl to Tampa Bay in the 2020 season, having to rebuild their entire offensive line, knowing that if we don't do this, we won't contend, right? Trading Tyreek Hill and eventually getting Trent McDuffie out of it and making it more of a defensive team. And now they're entering another crossroads here, Trev, where they're entering this offseason with more questions than we've ever had in the Patrick Mahomes era, right? Between his injury, the offensive line being inconsistent, the receiving core, and what that's going to look like possibly without Travis Kelce in the future. And then, having to fix even this pass rush on defense, right, around Chris Jones still. There's a lot of problems on this team. It's why they're, 6-8 now. It's why they're out of postseason contention. And you just look at a team that doesn't look anything like we're used to seeing in the Patrick Mahomes era, right? And you mentioned it, next year, if he's going to miss any amount of time, How do you go about it? How do you go about, balancing, trying to go all in and contending while you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback for another decade with, hey, we really need to retool this roster. I mean, there's a lot of pieces, especially on offense. They're basically completely barren at running back, right? Receiver, they need some young guys to improve, but they need some help out there. Maybe a true X receiver would help them. There's going to be questions at tight end here eventually, possibly very soon this offseason. So I think the Chiefs really need to just take a step back and breathe, even after not making the postseason, and go, all right, what do we want this to look like? Not just next year, but really for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I agree. This year, no matter what, was going to be a big, okay, it's time to look in the mirror and wonder if, okay, is this next season, are we going to try to continue to run it back as much as possible? Are we hitting the gas once again next season? Or are we getting a little bit into rebuild, retooling mode? And with Patrick Mahomes' injury now, it's obviously even more important that you answer those questions appropriately. In this game, stat that told the story, the yards per play here for the Kansas City Chiefs, 4.0. I mean, that's a stat that, okay, if the other team is close to where you are in that 4.0 average, you can win a football game, but that's normally not what we're used to for the Chiefs. It's not their offensive output that we're used to. It's, I think, a representation of how much this offense has struggled over the last, I would say, well, I guess we could say over the better part of 2 years now, how much this offense has really struggled. And I think that number just sticks out to me, just how much lower and lower and lower the yards per play has gotten on average for the Kansas City Chiefs. And again, it was not enough in this game, and you lose by a field goal there. My most impressive, though, is Jesse Minter and what he was able to do with this defense. This defense looked ready to play. They looked extremely motivated. They didn't look like they care. You know what? I was a little bit worried. Team from Los Angeles, weather's nice. Playing a dome, now you're going to Arrowhead. Not only is it a tough place to play anyways, but what was it, like -5 degrees wind chill in Arrowhead as well? Like everything on the line for the Kansas City Chiefs. And from the moment that ball was snapped for the first time, the Chargers looked like the aggressors. They looked like the ones that were ready. They looked like the ones who were fearless and ready to play in basically every single way. And whether it was Diane Henley or I was so impressed with Derwin James as well in this game. Just so many players. Tuli Tuipulotu. Like, they were absolutely ready for this game. And they looked like the better team. They looked like the more prepared team. And they looked like the team, honestly, that wanted it more. I hate necessarily saying that, because when people hear me say that, they may go, oh, so the Chiefs didn't want it? That's not necessarily what I'm saying. But, like, the fire and the passion that it felt like the Chargers were able to come out with on the defensive side of the football, I was just so impressed with how they were able to play and how they got ready for this one.
No, their defense is carrying them right now with the offensive line injuries they have, the struggles to run the ball between the tackles. Justin Herbert's struggles over the last month or so. You look at what this defense has done. They've played like an elite unit. That's my stat that tells the story. An 83.5 team defense grade for the Chargers. They're second best of the season. The only game that was better, week 2 against the Las Vegas Raiders. I believe they had several interceptions of Geno Smith in that game. And you look at this Chargers team, despite all those obstacles and despite whatever doubts we may have about their offense moving forward, they've won 6 of their last 7 games, and they've given up 20 points or less in all 6 of those wins. So you look at the floor that they're giving, this offense to work with. They don't have to do a ton of work. They have to do just enough. They have to score just enough to just overcome what isn't a huge hurdle right now. Right in this game, they gave up a touchdown on the very first drive, only 6 points the rest of the way, 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter. Chiefs running backs, once again, did not have an explosive run in this game. 19 carries for 34 yards.
Yeah.
The Chargers, after the first drive, they figured it out. This team is not better than us. They're not faster than us. They're not more physical than us. We just have to hold the fort down long enough for Justin Herbert to score enough points, and we can finish this game off.
Anything else in this one before we move on?
You mentioned Tuipulotu, and a question that you kind of have sometimes with this Chargers team is, do they have enough with a 4-man rush to get to the quarterback, to disturb the quarterback? Tuipulotu has to be a big part of that. He was in this game. And keep in mind, the Chargers only blitzed Patrick Mahomes twice the entire game. And then they blitzed Gardner Minshew a couple of times when he came in at the very end. But twice the entire game, they blitzed Patrick Mahomes. Tuipulotu, 85.4 pass rush grade, 8 pressures, 2 sacks. Monster performance that they needed. That is a big question for this Charger team. How much ammo do they have to not blitz? Because Jesse Minter actually is not a high blitzing type of defensive coordinator. He wants to rotate zone coverages. He wants to prevent explosives. But if you can get a 4-man rush to go along with that, you can be an elite defense. That's what happened, and Tuipulotu was a big part of that in this game.
Ravens and the Bengals. Ravens win this game 24-0. You saw this one in person. braving the elements there. Top 5 graded players that we had for the Baltimore Ravens. Tight end Charlie Kohler at the top of their list with an 86.0. Safety Alohi Gilman with an 82.4. Center Tyler Linderbaum with an 81.9. Defense tackle Travis Jones an 81.9. And Derrick Henry an 81.9 as well. Lamar Jackson 81.5 overall grade in this one. On Cincinnati side of things, wide receiver Jamar Chase was their top graded player with a 72.9. Offensive tackle Amarius Mims with a 72.0. Running back Chase Brown with a 68.6. Cornerback Dax Hill a 67.4. Defensive tackle B.J. Hill a 65.3. And then Joe Burrow in this one a 78.9. Dalton South told the story.
And it's funny because a lot of the blame for this game has gone to Joe Burrow. And obviously the pick six was bad. That was the nail in the coffin there for their season, basically. And you see the very solid grade there for him and actually their highest graded player on offense there, actually on their whole team. I'm going to kind of double the stat here in the most disappointing because what I could even feel watching this game was just the absence of T. Higgins. We know this team does not have a good record when one of either Burrow or Chase or Higgins misses a ball game. And you can just feel the Ravens defense in this game. All they have to do is lean over to Jamar Chase, and nobody else is going to get open. The Bengals as a team, a 59 receiving grade, okay? Jamar Chase, 132 yards, some of it kind of empty in the fourth quarter as the Bengals were just kind of playing out the string. Nobody else had more than 37 receiving yards in this game. Another wide receiver did not catch a pass until Mitchell Tinsley had a 16-yard catch in the fourth quarter. There were 3 drops, one from Tinsley in the end zone just before the pick six that put the final nail in the coffin. Jamar Chase himself had 2 big drops early in this game. There was a slant that really stunted their first drive of the game where they could have scored. They came out with no points on that drive. There was a tip ball that the ball was a little bit high, but Chase oftentimes over the middle comes down with that, ends up as an interception. That takes points off the board. 2 for 7 on contested targets as a team, 4 explosive catches, 3 of them from Jamar Chase. You can feel the Ravens when you watch this. All the coverages rotating to Chase. Somebody's always high and low, even when they're single high. Guess where the free safety is? Which hash mark is he on? Whichever side of the field Jamar Chase is on. There just is no other threat on this field without T. Higgins out there. And this offense, part of this to me is on Zach Taylor. This offense cannot just completely cease to function when one of these 2 guys is not on the field. I understand they're both great. They're 2 of the top 15 receivers in the NFL. But
right.
T. Higgins not being out there, there's just no respect for anybody else.
Yeah.
For Andre Yoshivas, for Mitchell Tinsley, for the tight ends. The defense just doesn't care who else is out there. They're daring Joe Burrow to throw some sort of vertical ball on the backside of these formations away from Chase.
Right.
And I get it. He just won't do it. They're not open. So Joe Burrow's going to play quarterback the way he knows how to play quarterback. And he's real upset with his performance, and I get it. But, man, help me out. Like, I don't know how you can have an offense that completely just ceases to function when one guy misses a game. When T. Higgins misses a game, it's just gone. There's just nothing left. Okay, we have no answers left.
Right.
That's the part that, as the game went on to me, I was just like, Jamar Chase is the only person out here who can even has a chance to create an explosive play.
Yeah. No, it does feel that way, as if one of these guys miss, you just don't feel great about it. And I think if Joe Burrow plays this season fully healthy, I think that it looks better at this point in the year, right? You feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more confident, giving those guys a chance on the backside like you were mentioning. But that's just not where the Bengals are. And I think for them to score 0 points in this game, that's 24-0 is not really indicative of sort of like how close I feel like the game went. The Bengals controlled the ball a while. What was the time to throw? The Bengals had the ball for 39 minutes in this game.
The Ravens only ran 40 plays.
They dominated this game. The Ravens ran 40 plays, had a 7.9 yards per play average. The Bengals ran 71 plays, had a 4.2 yards per play average there. So they controlled the ball a ton in the middle of the field between the 20s. But the Bengals weren't even in the red zone very often. They were only 0 for 1 in the red zone. They barely got in the red zone. Dalton, they had 1 3-and-out all game. Every single other time that they got the football, they got at least 1 first down on it. So the Bengals were able to do some things, but they weren't able to string it together. They weren't able to capitalize. They weren't able to get in the scoring position. And then, of course, like the game just sort of got away from them a little bit. So to me, it was just that yards per play average where when the Ravens got the ball, they were able to move it well. They were able to get explosive plays. When the Bengals had the ball, it was slow-moving drives. It was methodical stuff, but it wasn't stuff that had explosives. It wasn't really putting fear into the Ravens defense. And, of course, you have the pick from Joe Burrow that goes right to Kyle Van Noy, right, who intercepted it, and then
good guy just handing it off. No, didn't feel like taking the 90-yard sprint.
No, he did not. And he knew that Gilman was faster than him, so I think that's a good teammate there. But, it's just with this Bengals offense, you see a lot of plays, you see a lot of time of possession. It didn't amount to what it needed to amount to.
And it was funny because I felt like you got kind of opposite tracks here when I was there from these two teams. It felt like the first two Bengals drives, I actually really liked the play calling. You saw some pony personnel with two backs on the field. You saw a little bit of creativity trying to isolate the weak side in the run game. And like you mentioned, manufacturing things reasonably well. And then it all just kind of stalled when you got in that cold weather game and you just have to be the more physical team and really create explosive plays, where it felt like the other way around for the Ravens. Todd Monken trying to find a rhythm the first two drives. And after that, it felt like, okay, you know what? We're done screwing around. We're going to put the big blocking tight end Charlie Kohler on the field. We're going to put big 300-pound Patrick Ricard on the field. We're going to run it right down your throat on the strong side. We're going to run power, and we're going to see if you're going to stop us. And then Lamar Jackson, didn't have to do a ton in this game. Was it only 13 pass attempts? I think it was in this game. Among the 12 pass attempts in this game for Lamar Jackson, 18 dropbacks. But I thought especially the very last drive of the first half was the most important one. Put him up 14-0, and I thought Lamar just found enough explosive plays in there to create that gap, right, and to really make the Bengals uncomfortable in those conditions. So credit to Todd Monken for making the adjustments. Didn't get a ton of opportunity to work with, but took advantage of the ones for the most part that he got. And again, I just think this Bengals offense, after the first two drives, after that first 15 kind of scripted plays there, it just looked broken without T. Higgins because they need a second matchup problem out there.
Also really liked how Travis Jones played in this game from the Baltimore Ravens. 82.0 overall grade, 76.9 defensive grade, run defense grade, and then a 70.9 pass rush grade. I thought he was really manipulating the interior offensive line of Cincinnati whenever he had those one-on-one opportunities. So I think Travis Jones had played a really good game. Anything else from this one before we move on?
My most impressive, just the two backs for Baltimore. Once the Ravens really stopped messing around and said, hey, we're just going to be more physical, well, it's fun to do that with Derrick Henry, right? There's not a guy when there's a 0-degree wind chill you want to tackle less than Derrick Henry.
True.
11 carries, 100 yards, 4 missed tackles for us. And then Keaton Mitchell giving him a spark also with the speed, 8 carries for 66 yards. That's the run game that you want to see. The Ravens are going to want to continue that through the last 3 weeks if they want to make postseason. PFF Plus subscribers,
already know about this, the player prop tool where you can see all the numbers that we have at PFF here coming to give you a betting advantage. But for those of you that don't, need a little bit more convincing to why you should get that PFF sub because of what it'll do for your betting game here. Here's a little video on what we have with the player prop tool over at PFF.com.
Everyone's got takes. Numbers have truth. And the truth is, most people are betting with emotion. Sportsbooks feed on it. TikTok gurus sell it. The hype machine runs on it. That's how you lose. PFF is different. You're betting with winning data. The same data trusted by all 32 NFL teams and the sharpest minds in the game. PFF betting tools take every prop, every matchup, every angle, and run them through our custom models. Built on the best football data in the world. What comes back is your edge. Simple, sharp, and built to win. Want to go deeper? PFF puts a pro-level analytics department in your hands, giving you the same insights teams use to find every advantage. Build your game plan with matchup analysis. Project every snap, every matchup, and every edge before kickoff. Because the smartest plays start long before Sunday. Hit rates show how a player performs against their prop and against defenses built the same way. It's the data that gives you real confidence in every pick. Next, Key Insights translates PFF data into the story behind every matchup, giving you the why that powers your bets. From coverage schemes to defensive looks, it's the context that turns raw numbers into winning decisions. When you're ready to take action, filter through every prop on the market and focus on the opportunities that matter, by game, matchup, or value. Then, shop for the best available line in your area and tap your book of choice to place the bet instantly. Everyone's got takes, but now you've got truth. Bet with data, win with PFF.
We cashed in big using the PFF player prop tool this week, Dalton.
Did you?
Shedeur Sanders, over 16.5 completions. This is one of our top 10 highest cover probability numbers. Got in on that bad boy. Felt good about it. Felt good about it when it hit. All right. For everybody else, if you guys don't have that PFF Plus subscription, you can get one for 30% off using the promo code HOLIDAY30. You can see that player prop tool and everything else the PFF has to offer. The grades, the premium stats, the unlocked mock draft simulator, the fantasy football tools, all that great stuff. So, again, if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, get one right now with 30% or getting 30% off using the promo code HOLIDAY30. Jets and the Jags. Don't have to spend a ton of time on this one. Jacksonville absolutely destroys the New York Jets here. 48-20 was the final score. Top 5 graded players that we had for the Jacksonville Jaguars is the winners of this game. Safety Antonio Johnson with a 93.8. Offensive tackle Cole Van Lanen stringing together some good games here. 80.5 overall grade. Safety Andrew Wingard with a 79.5. Running back Travis Etienne Jr. with a 78.8. Defensive tackle Matt Dickerson with a 75.6. Trevor Lawrence, a 93.5. Feeling it, Dalton. He is feeling it down the stretch.
Wheeling and dealing in Jacksonville, man.
Your New York Jets, top graded player, safety Malachi Moore, 78.6. Running back Isaiah Davis with a 74.8. Wide receiver Isaiah Williams with a 74.6. Defensive tackle Harrison Phillips with a 73.5. Wide receiver A.D. Mitchell, 67.4. Brady Cook in this game threw his first touchdown pass of his NFL career. 53.3 overall grade there for him on the day. Dalton stats told the story.
Well, there's plenty of stats we could go about it with, but really the story is Trevor Lawrence. And if Trevor Lawrence is going to continue to play at this level, the Jacksonville Jaguars are as dangerous as any team in the AFC. This is what they were waiting on, the vertical passing ability of Lawrence to come out and just the confidence. We talked last week so much about how he attacks the defense now all of a sudden. It doesn't look like he's timid to throw balls into tight windows. He's taking his chances. It's like Liam Cohen did. You know how Jim Harbaugh hits his quarterback's shoulder pads and gets them all hyped up before? It's like Liam Cohen started doing that the last couple weeks with Trevor Lawrence, but you just look at everything all around in this game for him. 92.5 passing grade, 330 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 big-time throws, running the ball well this season, 51 yards and a touchdown on the ground, and doing just truly historic stuff in this game. I mean, for a 48-20 win, obviously taking care of business against the Jets team, and you're in a division race now with the Houston Texans with this AFC South title on the line. But, I mean, you just look at Trevor Lawrence's performance. This wasn't some normal good performance. This was insane. 6 total touchdowns. How about the first player in NFL history with 300, I think it's also with 350 or 300 passing yards, 50 rushing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown in the same game. I mean, now when you're talking about, okay, we're going to get Trevor Lawrence on such a heater that he's doing historic things in the passing game and with his legs for that matter, it seems like this year he's more confident in his scrambling ability than ever. And I think now you look at the hot streak that he's on, if he's going to stay this hot, they're going to be very hard to beat. Their defense is really good. The secondary is really good. They force turnovers. And, you know, I want to really expand on that hot streak, okay, over the last 3 weeks that we've really seen. When you pull up in premium stats, Trev, one of my favorite things to do is, okay, let's not just look at the entire season, right? Because that might not tell you, you know, what have you done for me lately. We can look at the last 3 weeks, right? So, I mean, you look at over the past 3 weeks, a 94.2 PFF grade.
Yeah.
Highest graded quarterback in football over the last 3 weeks. 9 big-time throws, 0 turnover-worthy plays, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I mean, if any quarterback in the league plays like that for an extended stretch, you're going to get a team that's really good. But this Jacksonville team that we know can run the football, that we know now can throw it vertically when Trevor's throwing it this confidently, that we know is a solid pass rush with Josh Hines-Allen, and they've been great in coverage for most of the year. This is a dangerous team. I think these both, we're going to talk about the Houston Texans in a minute, but both of these teams out of the AFC South are extremely dangerous with both of their quarterbacks playing like this. But Lawrence playing at this level, this is what we've always hoped for, right, out of a former first overall pick. And this is what Jacksonville's always hoped for. If he can sustain this into the postseason, they're as dangerous as anybody.
Yeah, this team, is firing on all cylinders. My most impressive is just Liam Cohen and what he's been able to do over the last 3 weeks. Now, I don't want to take anything away from the players themselves because they're playing fantastic. When we go to Trevor Lawrence, just something to add on everything that you just said there, going back to the non-play action versus play action stuff. Remember, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. We revisited it last week as well. Lawrence, on non-play action plays, when he is able to just look at things pre-snap, snap the football, get the ball, and the second that he does, he's reading the field. There's not okay, I'm snapping the football, I'm faking the handoff, and then, after a second and a half, whatever it is, now I'm bringing my eyes up to see, okay, where did everybody adjust pre-snap? Where did the safeties go? Which wide receivers are open? The second that he snaps the football, he is scanning the field. 90.3 overall passing grade on those 9 play action plays again this week. All 3 of his big-time throws came on non-play action plays. You guys can see that right there in premium stats. If you have that PFF Plus subscription, like Dalton was saying, you can even, dig into, okay, over the last couple of weeks, what does this guy look like? So you can see all those numbers there and break those things down in that way. But yeah, it feels like they're on a heater right now, and you want to be playing your best when we get to the last month of the season as we get into the postseason. Right now, they are at the top of the division. They are in line to host a playoff game, and I certainly would not want to play the Jacksonville Jaguars right now. What's their schedule? What do they got? What are the last 3
I know this
teams
week.
they got
This
here?
week coming, they have Denver, which is going to be a
yes.
whole lot of fun.
That's the way that Denver's playing right now versus Jacksonville. That's going to be game of the week type of stuff.
Denver, Indianapolis, Tennessee.
Okay, so
Feel good about those last 2.
Feel good about those last 2. Is that in Denver?
Yes, in Denver, in Indy, and then home Tennessee.
Man, if you go into Denver and win that game, you got to feel pretty good about yourself heading into the postseason.
Is there, maybe unlikely, but is there quietly a 1-seed chance for this Jacksonville team if they win all 3 of those?
They'd have to win all 3, and then
the Broncos, I think, would have to lose another one.
So they'd have to lose 2 out of the last 3. But they get one on the Broncos.
Yes, they would get the
They would get the
tiebreaker.
Over
So
the Broncos.
in that scenario, you go Jaguars win out, Broncos lose to either the Chiefs or the Chargers, and then you might need New England to lose another. There's
wow.
One seed's not that far off the table for Jacksonville if they were to win this game in Denver.
Very good point. Most disappointing, the New York Jets. That's kind of it, right?
You don't have to tell me twice.
Yeah. They fired Steve Wilkes, their defensive coordinator, today. We knew that he was probably going to be gone anyways. They just did it now instead of waiting until the end of the regular season. But, yeah, any other words on the Jets, or are we moving on?
No, just most impressive on the others other than Lawrence real quick. When I watch this Jags defense, I just love what these 2 safeties, Antonio Johnson and Andrew Wingard, bring them, just the versatility they bring them to be. We've talked about a lot of good defenses having that one big nickel extra linebacker kind of guy there at safety. The Jags really have 2 of them, and they really have the flexibility in their defense to use them wherever they want. Johnson with a 93 coverage grade. Andrew Wingard was really good in this game, flying all over the place. So those 2 guys are 2 guys to watch, but especially Johnson. He's gotten to play more the second half of the year, and it's really made the middle of their secondary a lot better.
Cardinals and the Texans. Texans win this game by a lot, 40-20. Final score here. Top 5 graded players that we have for the Houston Texans. Tight end Dalton Schultz at the top of the list with a 90.0. Wide receiver Nico Collins with an 85.4. Offensive tackle Ariante Ursary an 80.0. Center Jake Andrews with a 77.5. Safety Kalen Bullock with a 76.7. Did you see his tweet afterwards?
Oh, I forgot what it was.
I can't remember exactly what word he used, but he's like, all right, so I guess I'm trash now because he just had the interception that hit his hands, which is a great play by him. He's just mad that he didn't get the interception. I believe that's what he was referencing there, but I just kind of laughed at that. The Texans are playing at such an elite level that when you have a dropped interception, you can go on social media and say that.
High standards in that defense.
Extremely high standards, no doubt about it. C.J. Stroud in this game is 79.2. On Arizona's side of things, tight end Trey McBride with a 92.3 overall grade. Edge rusher Zaven Collins with an 85.9. Offensive guard John Gaines with an 81.7. Center Yalda Frohlholt with a 68.9. Cornerback Denzel Burke a 67.4. And then Jacoby Brissett a 56.2. My stat that told the story is the Texans offensive line. About 3-4 weeks ago, we were talking about how they were a much improved offensive line unit, especially when we were looking at them at the beginning of the season. And then last week, they really, really struggled again. It's like, okay, is the roller coaster back on for this team and this offensive line? They bounced back in a big way. 75.1 overall blocking grade for this team. 81.2 run blocking grade specifically, which is great to see. 63.6 impact run blocking percentage, which for those of you that don't have a PFF Plus subscription or aren't familiar with that, that's how often you're getting a positive rushing play or positive rushing grade on a run blocking play, and then just a 34.4 defeated run blocking percentage that's negative. That's my stat that told the story. Anytime the Texans are blocking well on the offensive line, we know the defense is going to play well. C.J. Stroud handles himself well, and he gets some of those big Nico Collins plays.
I mean, we've seen this offensive line start to get a little bit better as the season's gone on, and as the Texans have gotten hot. If they can at least be an average unit, they're a darn good football team, because that's seen as their kryptonite, right? And
Yep.
one guy that played really well for them, their highest graded offensive line in this game. How about the second-round rookie out of Minnesota, Ariante Ursary, man?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about week one, he started at right tackle and struggled. Since then, he's been the starting left tackle. He's been terrific, man. 83.4 run blocking grade in this game. You mentioned that impact run block percentage. He's a big part of that. 6 positively graded blocks in the run game, 67.7 pass blocking grade as well. Since week 8, got a 67.4 PFF grade. If you told the Texans they were getting that out of their left tackle going down the stretch of the season, especially a second-round rookie like Ursary, they got to be feeling pretty good about it, right? I mean, and you mentioned it. This offense, this team, it feels like the defense is great. We know the quarterback's really good. The backfield, how about Jawar Jordan in the backfield in this game with Woody Marks? I think, did he leave early with an injury? Jawar Jordan getting a lot of work in this game, his first NFL game he's seen action in. And then C.J. Stroud. This Texans team is going to go as far as the offensive line takes them. And now you saw this game. I thought C.J. Stroud played his best game of the year. And especially when you talk about throwing down the middle of the field. There was a command of the middle of the field from the very start of this game, from the Nico Collins touchdown right off the jump on their first drive. Between the numbers, 90.6 passing grade, best for him this season, 10 for 11, 154 yards, the 2 Nico Collins touchdowns. If now he's going to be protected, and much like we just talked about with C.J. Stroud or with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, if Stroud's going to get hot now, this team is extremely dangerous. These two teams in the AFC South should not be taken lightly at all with their defenses, with their quarterbacks getting hot. And you know what, Trevor, for as fun as the first 2 games between the Texans and Jaguars, where you had the first game where it was tight and defensive, and the Jags defense really won it. Then you had the second game with Davis Mills with the crazy comeback. But the way these two teams are playing right now, man, I would love if there was ever a rule where we could switch opponents for a week. I would love to see the Texans and Jaguars round 3 with the way these two teams are playing right now. We'd have to wait till the postseason to get it, but man, if I could move that up to this week,
right.
I want to see these two teams at this level of strength, the way they're playing right now, face off for a third time. We'll see if we get it in the postseason with seeding and everything, but man, they're both these teams in the South. This is going to be a dogfight all the way to the end.
The AFC South has been wild to watch all year long, because it was like, oh, okay, Colts running away with it. They're just going to win the division, and that's said and done. And now the Colts aren't going to make the postseason, it looks like. And both the Texans and the Jags not only are going to make the postseason, it feels like they're going to be two of the stronger teams when we get to that point. My most impressive, funny enough, is Kalen Bullock. Had that dropped interception in this game, but even outside of that, a 71.8 overall coverage grade. My most disappointing was just on the Cardinals side of things. Akeem Davis-Gaither really struggled in this game. Their linebacker, 8 targets, 8 receptions allowed, 6 first downs allowed from him as well. The Cardinals just don't have it this year. I think that what's most discouraging about the Cardinals, though, is you're giving up 40 points. I've been told that Jonathan Gannon's safe.
4 of the last 6 games they've given up 40 points.
I've been told that Jonathan Gannon's safe, but that's your side of the ball. That's you're supposed to at least have a much higher floor of defense. And I get it. They don't have everybody. The offense is not really complementary the way that it needs to. There have been some injuries, all that kinds of stuff, but the longer this season goes, the less of a leg I think Jonathan Gannon has to stand on to be the coach of this team next year. I just don't. They're just not finishing strong enough.
There is really right now, other than Trey McBride, there really isn't a whole lot of positive with them.
No.
I mean, and there's Marvin Harrison with the injuries, he didn't play in this game. Michael Wilson's been good as well, but this is also an offense that they have to throw the football every play because A, they're behind, and B, they can't run the ball anyway.
Like the Cardinals aren't great, but I don't even think they're playing to their capabilities. And that's the thing, is like when you have a team that has a head coach that you wonder, okay, are they the right man for the job? And you kind of look at things and you say, well, they've dealt with injuries. Well, the roster's not there yet. That's basically the case for every team every single year, no matter what. What you have to look at is you have to be able to look at the team as it's currently constructed with the injuries involved and all that and say, are they playing up to what you think they could play to? And on defense, the answer is no. And that's, again, like that's your area of expertise. That's your side of the ball. So, again, I feel like all I've heard is that Jonathan Gannon is safe, but the way that the last couple of weeks have gone, the way that this past week has gone, I think the last 3 games, all of a sudden, he is absolutely coaching for his job.
At several of the organization's most important positions, this is going to be a wild offseason in Arizona because whether Gannon stays or goes, we still have the Kyler Murray question, the quarterback
I think
question.
Kyler's gone. I think Drew Petzing's probably gone. So I think you're moving on from
probably
2 major points anyway.
Their big problem is if we're only maybe going to see 2 quarterbacks worthy of first-round picks in this draft.
Yeah.
And this team is picking right now behind the 2 main teams I would think about with quarterbacks,
Right.
the Raiders and the Jets.
Right.
What are we going to have to do to find a quarterback?
Yeah, do you look at a situation where you go to Kyler and you basically say like, "Hey, we'll rework things and you just get to become a free agent next year?"
You got to play for a whole lot less. Or I mean, unless you just just ride it out.
No,
but that's not going to work.
Kyler wouldn't agree to play to less. Maybe they just work it out in a way where they say like, "Hey, we'll change it into a signing bonus or whatever," but I don't have the contract up in front of me. It's a great point that you make. It's like, yeah, I think in a vacuum you would say that they're just going to move on from Kyler Murray, but maybe you are right. Maybe you go, okay, well, we have no shot essentially to go get up and get one of these, because Ty Simpson could go back to school and Dante Moore could go back to school.
Well, and then
Lenore Sellers is already going back to school.
Then you got several teams that are stuck.
So It's essentially just Fernando Mendoza.
Which means at this point he would
Who also doesn't have to go back, right? Technically, he's a redshirt junior.
He doesn't have to, but he's
going to.
He's coming out.
He's going
top 3.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not very many true seniors who don't have eligibility left.
Right.
Who are going to be in this class.
Oh no,
It's like Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller.
This is
Garrett Nussmeier, who I think all of those guys are day 3 quarterbacks.
This is a rough time right now, I think, for the Cardinals. When you look at just, again, the most important positions in their franchise, we're extremely unsure of what that's going to look like next year.
The Las Vegas Raiders and the Philadelphia Eagles, that's the next game that we're talking about here. Philly wins this game 31-0. On Philly's side of things, linebacker Nakobe Dean had an excellent day, 93.3 overall grade. Linebacker Zach Bond right behind him with an 89.8. Offensive tackle Jordan Mailata with an 82.8. Tight end Dallas Goedert with a 78.9. Cornerback Adoree Jackson with a 77.4. And then Jalen Hurts in this game, a 79.5. On the Raiders side of things, offensive tackle Stone Forsythe was their top graded player with a 79.1. Edge rusher Max Crosby, a 71.4. Tight end Brock Bowers, a 65.8. Cornerback Eric Stokes, 65.4. Linebacker Devin White with a 65.3. Devin White had like 16, 17 tackles in this game. Pretty crazy. Kenny Pickett, last player that we're talking about here, a 50.4 overall PFF grade. Dalton Stat told the story.
Well, the Eagles gave up 75 total yards on defense.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't have to be a long review. It doesn't.
That pretty much says it all. The Raiders had 7 first downs and 1 explosive play, an 11-yard run from Ashton Ginty. The Eagles, of course, had their highest graded defensive game of the season and held the ball for almost 40 minutes. And, 75 total yards on an NFL field. That says it all, pretty much.
This is the second time that they've been shut out, and this is the 5th time this year that they've scored less than 10 points. Well, I don't mean for this to sound like overly harsh, but it kind of is what it is. There's a couple teams this year where if you beat them, I don't really care.
Oh no, this is
and the Raiders are probably number 1 on that list.
This is number 1.
I would say that the Raiders, even above like the Titans, are a team where it's like, I don't care if you beat this team.
Yeah. The Raiders, I believe their last win was against Tennessee, and I'm
20-10. Their last win was against Tennessee.
5,000.
And you know what the hilarious part is? Their other win this year is the Patriots.
Week 1.
Who they beat week 1.
And I'm 5,000% certain that if they played Tennessee again tomorrow, Tennessee would win.
Oh, Tennessee beats them.
Question.
Yes. I would take every team in the NFL over the Raiders today.
Yes. This is just where we're – I mean, and how many games are we going to watch with them where the other team has the ball for 37, 39, 40 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the Chiefs game. You remember that one, the other game they got shut out. But, I mean, this is just –
This is the worst team in the NFL.
Yes.
So it's hard for me to – take anything away from this game. They had 1.8 yards per play. Remember I talked about the Chiefs being like, 4, that's not very good.
Yeah.
The Cincinnati Bengals, I think they were at like 4.2. I was like, that's not very good. Raiders are at 1.8 yards per play.
Oh no,
this team stinks.
They're looking at the number 1 pick.
I can't even take anything away from like Philly's side of things, right? Because we've been talking on the other side of the coin of Philly's side of things, like, they got to get it right, they got to turn things around, they got to get ready for the postseason, all that kinds of stuff. The Eagles win this game 31-0, and there's nothing about this game where I go, this is a takeaway point here for the Eagles.
The only thing I have offensively for them, they ran 30 plays from under center, which is a season high.
Nice.
They are 8-1 when they run at least 10 plays under center. Stay under center, run the football, play action. I mean, it's basically the thing that everyone's been begging for at this point, is for this team to add some level of deception. Now, if you get to a point in this game where when you're up 17-0 on the Raiders, you just milk the clock. What was it? This game was only like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something.
I don't remember.
It was over. It was over by like 3:30 or something like that. It was just you almost forgot this game even existed when you were watching yesterday. But no, I mean, you have their defense was spectacular. Their offense, workman-like, this was the ultimate took care of business game. The linebackers were great. Nakobe Dean and Zach Bondine, their highest graded player.
Nakobe Dean could get paid.
He's been
this offseason.
just outstanding.
Got a couple of linebackers. Him, Devin Lloyd, Leo Chanel. These guys could get paid this offseason.
Dean has been terrific, and I wonder where things stand with Jahad Campbell, because this was another game now. Since Dean's back, Campbell has hardly played at all, and he was off to such a good start when Dean was out, but he only played like 5 or 6 snaps in this game. But I still have to wonder if the presence of Campbell allows them to say, all right, Nakobe Dean, we'll let him walk.
No, I don't think
because you can't pay him and Bond
he's
both
been hurt.
that, right?
Yeah, and he's been hurt. So I do not think at all that Nakobe Dean is back with Philly next year.
If he's healthy,
he's a great player.
When he's
really
healthy,
good
he's a great player, and somebody, as long as they can keep him healthy, if he leaves Philadelphia, somebody's going to get an absolute dog at linebacker.
I agree.
He's awesome.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Before we get to the next game, our game plan of the week, presented by Western Southern Financial Group, a game plan for your financial future. Game plan of the week, it's how Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills played Drake May and the New England Patriots this week. A lot of too high stuff, a lot of too deep safety looks, a lot of different types of coverages. That's what I like the most about what they did. There were just so many different types of looks that they were throwing at Drake May. Very few times in that game did he ever see anything twice. And I think that just goes into what we were talking about earlier, a seasoned veteran defensive coordinator and play caller going up against a young quarterback who's been playing really well, but still hasn't quite seen it all yet at the NFL level. So that was our game plan of the week there. Just like every team win starts with a great game plan, your future should too. With life insurance built like a championship roster, Western and Southern helps protect you and your family so you can focus on winning today, knowing that tomorrow is covered. Whether you're just starting out building your dynasty or looking to lock in long-term projection, their coverage options are designed to match your game plan. Visit westernsouthern.com/PFF to get your free life quote and start building your financial game plan today. Western Southern, built to win, backed by over 130 years of helping people protect what matters most. The Commanders and the Giants. The Commanders win this game 29-21 is the final score. Top 5 graded players that we had for Washington. Wide receiver Terry McLaurin at the top of their list with an 83.5. Safety Antonio Hamilton Sr. with an 81.6. Safety Quan Martin, a 79.8. Offensive tackle Laramie Tunsil with a 77.2. And then tight end Ben Sennett with a 77.0. Marcus Mariota in this game, a 61.8. On the Giants side of things, edge rusher Abdul Carter was their top-graded player with a 91.2. Offensive tackle Andrew Thomas with an 85.0. Defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence, 72.9. Running back Tyrone Tracy, a 68.8. And then cornerback Cordell Flott with a 67.8. Jackson Dart, a 56.6 overall grade. Dalton Sapp told the story.
Sometimes, Trevor, you get the momentum swings in the very first quarter at the beginning. Sometimes you get them in the fourth quarter, last 2-minute situations. This game really swung in the second quarter for the Washington Commanders. It actually started with a long Jalen Lane punt return into Giants territory late in the first quarter. They wound up scoring on that drive. Then you got a Jalen Lane punt return later in the second quarter. And then you got a Mike Sainristil interception with a long return to give the Commanders a field goal before the end of the half. 19 points scored in the second quarter by this Washington team, and then the Giants were just trying to claw back from in the second half from there. Really hard for them to win when they're falling behind in games and they can't run the football. But you have that, and then you have the Giants just missing a lot of opportunities. 2 missed field goals, 3 other drives that stalled in Washington territory, and it just felt like from that point, once the Commanders got a lead, it was just one big game to keep away. So big time second quarter from them, 6.2 yards per play in that quarter, and again 19 points. That's really the moment in the game that made the difference. Especially, I really think Jalen Lane, somebody they could use more so on offense for his explosiveness, but those 2 punt returns were 2 of the biggest plays of the game.
Yeah, and Younghoe Koo misses 2 field goals in this game, and it from 52 and 51. Obviously not the easiest field goals in the world, but if you make both of those field goals, okay, well now all of a sudden this is probably a different game. Where did they get down to? What was that final possession?
There was a drive that stalled. They got to Washington's 4-yard line and stalled there.
Yeah,
and the final possession got to inside the 40, 35-ish, somewhere in there as
38-yard line. So it's like, okay, well, if you're sitting here and the score is 27-29 instead, it's probably not a turnover on down situation. It's probably you're trying to kick a game-winning field goal type of a situation. So this is close. It's a close game between these 2 opponents. It looked like you said, the Commanders, when they were really able to take that lead in the second quarter, they weren't going to relinquish it, but credit to the Giants, they were able to come back in this one, but special teams, the kicking game, I think just let them down here. Most impressive for me, Bill Krosky-Merritt, who final stat line was 18 carries, 96 rushing yards, a 5.3 yards per carry average, had that touchdown, had a long run of 16 yards. He had 6 missed tackles forced in this game, and he just looked a little bit more confident in this one. And I felt like at the beginning of the year, he was really playing on fire, but then through the middle parts of the season, it felt like he just wasn't seeing things as confidently. He was a little bit more hesitant. In this game, it felt like he was much more north to south. He was much more pedal in the metal with what he was doing. So I was impressed with him in this game, and I know that you're going to talk about somebody else who was also very impressive.
For sure, rookies really standing out. I think especially another one lately for the Commanders, Josh Connerly's been playing his best football lately as well. It's good to see that over the last month and a half or so. On the other side, I know they lost the game, but it's not because of Abdul Carter, the New York Giants, man. I mean, 91.1 pass rush grade, 4 pressures, a strip sack, also a forced fumble and run defense in the final 3 minutes that gave the Giants another opportunity to tie the game before they stalled out on offense. A 76.4 run defense grade, which is a lot higher than most of his games this year. Look, if you can get more games like this in the future out of Abdul Carter, you feel really good, especially with the performance in run defense and the big play he made to try to keep them in it. Really, a lot of rookies shining in this game, and that's good to see. Krosky-Merritt, Carter, Josh Connerly, like I mentioned, has been good lately. So for both of these teams, that's really what you want to see is those young guys stepping up. The only other thing I have is Jackson Dart. You guys are 2-12. Slide. Please, just slide, because we don't need you getting checked for a concussion every single week.
Yeah, I wonder what Jackson Dart is going to be when that's not a part of his game plan. And I'm going to be honest with you. I guarantee that whatever head coach is going to be coached next to the New York Giants, they're going to tell him, don't be doing this stuff.
There's plenty of that's been said about the quarterback on the others. Well, didn't play in this game, but Jaden Daniels as well, where it's like, listen, we want you to be an athlete and be a playmaker, and that's what makes you really good. Just, hey, man, slide.
Right.
Like, don't take the big hits, right? I think you have that with both of these franchises right now. And for Dart, that's, because each subsequent concussion is more likely to happen than the last, right? There's been research done on that. So you just don't want to take those sorts of hits every single week, especially in a case like this where, again, your team is tied for the worst record in football.
Right.
Play it safe a little bit the last few.
Browns and the Bears. Bears win this game 31-3 final score. Man, you talk about weather-impacted games. This one was as cold as they come. Did this end up being? It was close to it. Might not. It may have even been the coldest game in Soldier Field history, which when you talk about how long the Bears have been around as a franchise and they've been right there on the shores of the lake there, like that is, you get a lot of cold games, a lot of wind. And I know you live in Chicago.
I've done it, man. That's a rough one.
When you are near the lake and you get the lake effects and everything, like that is a cold game. But Chicago and Caleb Williams specifically came out and played very, very well. On Chicago side of things, their top-graded player was linebacker DeMarco Jackson with a 93.5 overall grade. Tight end Colson Loveland, an 87.3. Running back DeAndre Swift with an 82.5. Cornerback C.J. Gardner-Johnson with an 80.3. Linebacker T.J. Edwards, a 74.6. And then Caleb Williams in this game, really, really good game from him, given the elements and everything that he had to deal with outside of just the game plan. 85.1 overall grade. On Cleveland side of things, linebacker Carson Schwessinger, their rookie, was a standout player at the top with a 76.5. Safety Ronnie Hickman Jr. with a 73.1. Edge rusher Myles Garrett with a 73.1. You get a half a sack in this game? Think, right?
I thought it was.
Did you give him a full one?
I thought it was 1.5. No.
Oh, he got 1.5 in this game.
Let me look, because I thought he was now at 21. I thought he was one short. I thought officially he got 1.5. Let me look at it.
All right, 1.5 short if that would be the case. Wide receiver Isaiah Bond with a 72.4. Defensive tackle Michael Hall Jr. a 68.6. Shedeur Sanders in this game a 33.2 overall grade. While you're looking that up, my stat that told the story: the Browns start to this game. Five of their first 6 possessions in this game were 3-and-outs. You know, first down, or they had 1 first down, in the first half total. They just were not able to do anything in the first half of this football game. They were down 14-0 at half. It's just not where you want to be if you're the Cleveland Browns. You have to be a lot more balanced than that. For as much as Shedeur's giving you a much better chance to win than Dylan Gabriel, and I don't totally want to say Joe Flacco, because Joe Flacco was able to get some wins for them, but lately, Shedeur Sanders has been able to give you the better chance to win football games. You can't be one-dimensional. You can't just be dropping back and it's just him back there. So the fact that they were not able to move the football at all whatsoever to start the game. The first half, they were so slow. 1 first down in that first half. To me, that was basically it. It put them in a script where it was going to be really tough for them to come from behind, especially the way that the Bears want to play. So that was my stat that told the story.
Yeah, no, for me, I mean, you mentioned it. The Bears defense, first of all, their highest graded game of the season, understandably so. When you watch this, the Browns only had 3 first downs in the first 3 quarters of this game. And I think the funniest stat to me, 113 total yards in the first 3 quarters. 89 of those on the 2 deep catches from Isaiah Bond. They were Shedeur Sanders' 2 big-time throws on the day, but basically just completely stagnant on offense for the Browns. And the Bears were able to just manufacture offense here. Their run game, their offensive line, obviously very hard to deal with. And then tell you what, Caleb Williams, if he wanted to prove he can rip the ball through the elements, he sure did it, especially that throw rolling to his right back into the end zone to DJ Moore. I mean,
the throw was so good it was almost bad. You know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying when I say that? Like, the throw was so unbelievable.
When you talked about last week, the throw that Josh Allen made to Khalil Shakir.
Yes.
And how many guys would even try this?
Yeah.
Caleb Williams is one of the few guys.
He's getting there. Yeah.
I mean, because it's the same feel I get. Yeah. I've felt this since the preseason when Ben Johnson, when you saw him really start to put the bootleg game in this offense. It's part of the foundation, right, with all the outside zone stuff. Caleb Williams rolling to his right is an absolute weapon. It's the same way I feel with Allen, especially when he rolls to his right. You get as a defense, you get nervous.
Yeah,
you get really, really nervous, right? Because he can do things like that. He's almost fallen out to the sideline, and yet he finds DJ Moore 10 yards back across in the end zone. And the arm talent at times, he makes it look like nothing. And for it to be frigid conditions, like you mentioned, you could tell there was one quarterback out there with average arm strength. Not that Shedeur didn't make a couple of nice throws, because he did.
Yeah,
but he's more of a touch passer.
Agreed.
And then you look at the game that Caleb played here, and even some of the throws he made in Lambeau last week. Boy, he can rip it through, man. It doesn't matter how cold it is. You got and the same reason that a lot of people really like the match. Remember when he was originally drafted, Josh Allen in Buffalo, where they're like, yeah, it's not going to matter with him. It can be cold and windy all you want. It's going to rip through the air, and it's not going to matter. So Caleb, no, he was outstanding in this game. He took care of business against a really good defense.
This was probably the most impressive Caleb Williams game that I have watched. I think there have been other ones that are his stats might be a little bit better. The PFF passing grade might be a little bit better. But again, to think about what this game was, how cold it was, how you look at what he was able to do, the throw in the back of the end zone, like just all of this stuff that there's so much week in and week out that you see, like you said, the game plan of pairing the outside zone with rollouts to his right, and he always just seems to be rolling out to his right. And the thing that you love about Caleb Williams is when he is rolling to the right, he is rolling until he gets to that sideline. And then what I love about Caleb Williams, this is something that he did not do at USC because we've talked about this. He probably felt like he wasn't afforded to do this, but when he gets close to the sideline now and he is rolling out, guess what he's going to do? I'm throwing it away. I'm throwing this football away.
Usually.
But
then there's once or twice a game. Once or twice a game he keeps you honest with it too. You have to play all the way to the whistle with him.
But no. But that's what I'm saying is when we get those opportunities where he can rip it down the field, even if it's a tight window throw, like he will do those things. But what you wanted to always eliminate from Caleb Williams were the ones that were very obvious, like don't throw it back into play. You're almost at the sideline now. You've run out of time, and you're going to try to take not a good option, not an okay option, the only option that was left, and you're going to give your guy a chance. But more importantly, you're probably giving the defense a good chance as well to come away with the football. That's what he did a lot when he was at USC. That's what I felt like he did a lot last year as well. This year, he's not doing that. This year, he's waiting to get to the sideline, and if there's something there, as evidenced by the DJ Moore throw at the back of the end zone, he'll still attempt it. He'll still attempt like the crazy throws, and that's okay because a lot of times he knows that there's a line. Like if the line gets up to, all right, 50-50, my guy gets this or they get this, or it's an incomplete pass or whatever it is, he'll probably take those odds. What you don't want to do, what you wanted to do is you wanted to eliminate the ones where he's like, probably got a 20% chance that my guy catches this football and 80% chance that this is very bad. And he would still go after it. Those are the throws that now he completely throws away. And it just goes into that game plan so well of getting him on the run, getting him to the outside, because specifically now he is comfortable throwing the football away. Now that is in his holster, if you will, that he is okay going to that, I'm okay with him attempting passes.
I think the best way to put it is there are fewer and fewer moments lately where it feels like he's forcing it, right? Because that always felt like Caleb Williams' biggest flaw at USC to me was, hey, you're forcing it.
Correct.
Stop trying to carry that. Now, that team, with their defense and everything they had going on at USC, he had to carry it. Ben Johnson has very clearly gotten the point across that he doesn't have to carry this football team, not but for maybe a few moments, right, when they were behind against the Giants. The Bengals game got weird at the end with the shootout they had there, but there aren't many moments right now where you feel like Caleb has to carry them, and you feel like it's a little bit easier. It's a little less weight on his shoulders, and it feels like he's not forcing those mistakes. You mentioned it, throwing the ball away, very important, not taking a whole lot of sacks, very important, not turning the football over, very important. I think Ben Johnson wants that first, and then it's, hey, 5 or 6 times a game, you're allowed. You're going to be a playmaker. That's what you do. That's what makes you special. And a play like that, like you mentioned, the DJ Moore touchdown in this game, the second one, just it speaks to that potential and what he can do to a really good defense in conditions like this.
Bears linebackers, I thought played very well in this game. DeMarco Jackson was excellent, 93.5 overall grade, 91.5 coverage grade. I thought that TJ Edwards was great as well. He had an elite 90.3 run defense grade, which sort of goes into my most disappointing, which was the fact that the Browns could not get the run game going at all whatsoever. This is a game where this is why you have Quinshon Judkins, right? I mean, like you feel like you could lean on him in this game, but they're not able to get anything going at all on the ground, and I think the Bears linebackers were a big reason why.
Big time, and Jackson with the interception, the ball that he tips to himself off the play-action fake from Sanders, just an unbelievable play. And I think overall in this game, what you see, and we've said this very often in Browns games this year, one team with a big-time offensive line, the other one that really needs to work on it this offseason. That makes a big difference in a cold game like that.
Packers and the Broncos here.
What a
thrilling game that this was. Denver wins this one 34-26, the final score. Top 5 graded players that we have for the Denver Broncos: offensive guard Quinn Miners with a 93.6, wide receiver Troy Franklin an 88.0, cornerback Patrick Surtain II with an 84.9, wide receiver Cortland Sutton an 83.2, center Luke Wattenberg with an 82.9, and then Bo Nix in this game an 83.1. We'll dig into his grade in a second because I thought that the highs, best game of Bo Nix's career here. But there were some lows as well, which get you to that 83.1 mark. We'll get to that in a second. On Green Bay side of things, safety Xavier McKinney with a 91.9. Edge rusher Micah Parsons with a 90.8. And unfortunately, this is the final game of his season as he tore his ACL in this game. Running back Josh Jacobs with an 88.3. Edge rusher Rashawn Gary a 74.8. offensive tackle Darian Kinnard with a 73.9. Jordan Love in this game, a 69.1. Dalton, what was your stat that told the story?
Well, Trev, we talk about it. We get one of them a week. This is the red zone game. We got to start bringing a siren or something in here when we get the red zone game.
What, a red zone alert?
Yeah, we need a red zone alert here, unless that's copyrighted. I don't know. That might be a problem. But either way, Denver Broncos, 4 for 4 in the red zone, a 92 offensive grade as a team. Bo Nix, 87.6 passing grade, 3 touchdowns in the red zone. Green Bay Packers, 1 for 4, 1 touchdown, 3 field goals, a 50.4 offensive grade. Jordan Love, a 37.3 passing grade in the red zone. There was also after the R.J. Harvey fumble to open the game, the Packers stalled and settled for a field goal. That drive didn't reach the red zone, but I think it speaks to just missed opportunities here for the Packers, right? When one team gets down and they finish drives and they go 4 for 4 and the other one goes 1 for 4, you're leaving plenty of points on the board. That's 12 points left on the board for Green Bay, and you look at these two teams and that making the difference lately, or even for Denver all season. Denver has the 3rd highest graded defense in the NFL backed into the red zone this season. Green Bay, over their last 4 games, the 4th worst offensive grade in the red zone. Not finishing drives lately. That really came back to hurt them in this game. I thought missed opportunities early, especially off of Denver mistakes, especially off of the R.J. Harvey fumble to open the game. That really cost them. And in a high-scoring game, you need all the points you can get, and you have to turn 0s and 3s into 7s. Green Bay didn't do that as well as Denver did.
I wanted to follow up on the Jordan Love middle of the field stat that I talked about in the preview show that we had last Wednesday. I mentioned how good Jordan Love has been throwing over the middle of the field in an elite passing grade over the last couple of weeks. It's just where he thrives, is looking over the middle of the field and playing that backyard style, off the back foot, those fadeaway passes. But I mentioned how Denver is top 10 in the NFL at defending over the middle of the field when it comes to not only PFF coverage grade, but also turnovers forced. So Jordan Love, 56.2 passing grade over the middle of the field in this game, 71.8 passing grade outside the numbers. So it was nice to see him play well outside of the numbers to show, like, hey, I don't have to just throw over the middle of the field to be effective. I can throw outside the numbers. And he had a couple of nice throws outside the numbers, but passing over the middle of the field became very challenging once he faced this Denver Broncos defense. And so to me, that was a big time stat that told the story, is that the Broncos were able to hold and be one of the strongest teams over the middle of the field in this game, because they really needed to be. My most impressive was Josh Jacobs, 84.1 rushing grade. I mean, there were some players that had some better PFF grades than he did, but I was just so impressive. Every time that he touched the football, it looked like he was running 100 miles an hour, so much determination. That long run that he had into the end zone was just so impressive. It looked like he was shot out of a cannon. I thought that he is just straight up one of the best backs in the NFL, and I thought that he proved it again in this game.
And he's been banged up lately. He's really been playing through some injuries, a knee injury that he's been dealing with every single week, really, and he did have a good game. I'll tell you a guy who I thought had his best game of the season, Courtland Sutton on the outside for the Denver Broncos. 7 catches, 113 yards and a touchdown. It felt like this was a game, and he's got 4 contested catches over the last 2 weeks now, really specializes in that. This felt like his best game. It felt like there were moments when the Broncos just needed somebody to win one-on-one, especially on some of those double moves he was working on the outside against Keyshawn Nixon, against Carrington Valentine. Sutton was awesome in this game. If you get this version of Courtland Sutton working vertically every single week, because it hasn't been quite as consistent this year as I think he would want it to be. Bo Nix obviously spreading the ball around, and certainly he is a roller coaster of his own. 5 big-time throws and 4 turnover-worthy plays in this game. We are just going to get the old Auburn Tiger version of Bo Nix for the rest of this season, especially with the way the Broncos struggle to run it. But if Courtland Sutton can be the number 1 target more consistently like he was in this game, this passing offense, they make you think they can just carry him all the way through as far as they can go.
Nix in this game, so I mentioned an 83.1 overall grade in this game. What was his passing grade? I didn't have his passing grade up. It would have been somewhere around there. It anchors a lot of that grade from him, because obviously he's throwing the ball more than he's running the ball. But
84.7.
84.7. 5 big-time throws in this game for Bo Nix. Some of the best throws that Nix has made in his career. We got to the fourth quarter of that game, and I tweeted out, I was like, this is his best game of his career, right? I mean, like, this feels like it. And when you look at those big throws, I think that they were some of the best of his career. However, he also had 4 turnover-worthy plays in this game. So him still grading as an 80 passer just shows you how good those throws were. The fact that he had 4 turnover-worthy plays and still had an 84 point what?
84.7
passing grade in this game. So still the good and the bad from Nix, but very clearly when he is feeling it, the good outweighs the bad, and this is somebody who can absolutely take this team to a Super Bowl.
A gunslinger in every sense of the word. I mean, you look at even just some of the moments, right? The shootout with the Giants, you remember that? 4 big-time throws. 4 big-time throws against the Texans in that game. 4 against Kansas City a few weeks ago, and now 5 in this game. Sean Payton, when push comes to shove against especially some of these better teams and better defenses Denver is playing, he knows, I think at this point, against some lesser teams, like last week we talked about they ran the ball better against the Raiders, and there are times in the playoffs where they're going to want to get behind this offensive line and play some ball control. But at a certain point, this Denver Broncos team is probably just going to live and die with Bo Nix. And so be it. You know what? Honestly, in games like this, in moments like this, he's been their best offensive player, probably outside of the offensive line and how good that they've been. But he's got the protection. He was really good, I thought, on the move in this game. He is mobile enough and a good enough improviser to make plays on the move and create explosive plays on the move. So I agree with you. You could argue that this was his best game. I thought he was really good against Kansas City, too, a few weeks ago. But the fact that there is that high end in there, and we've seen it enough this year, that does make him a dangerous quarterback in the playoffs, especially because he's so well protected behind this offensive line.
Really quickly before we move on, somebody in the chat is asking, what is a turnover-worthy play? If it's not a turnover, then why does it matter? Well, it matters because the motto here, PFF, is that we grade every single player, every single play, in every single game. So when you are evaluating every single play, not just the ones that stand out in the common box score, you are trying to look at the total performance and how well a player executed what was asked of them on a single play. So if Bo Nix has a play where he throws the ball to a defender's hands, which happened a couple of times in this game, that is a turnover-worthy play. It does not affect Nix and his responsibility in that play, whether or not the defender caught the ball. You know, let's say that he threw the ball late, because there were, I think, 2 throws in this game where it was a little bit behind the receiver or he was a little bit late to see it and it hit a defender in the hands. Well, that is not something that we just go, well, okay, Nix is completely exonerated of a bad decision or bad accuracy or a bad throw. That was more of the defender defender just didn't catch the football. The defender's the one who did not come down with the turnover, but it was a turnover-worthy type play for Bo Nix. So that is why we have those stats in there, is because we're not just looking at the plays sort of that are the ones that show up in the common box score. We're looking at every single play as if it matters, because if any of those turnovers get intercepted by the Green Bay Packers, there's a chance that it could have determined the outcome of the game. And because of that, we have to look at every single play as if that it matters, equally if the result was something that it could have been, that it could have manifested to be. And so that's how we get to that point that's why we do big time throws. That's why we do turnover worthy plays, because, again, you get let's say.
I had a couple in the game that I went to with Lamar Jackson, which are actually two opposite ends of this. The one interception he threw was an in-cut to Zay Flowers that hit him right in his chest. And it just bounced off Flowers' chest and into the arms, I think, of Jordan Battle. So that's an interception that is not a turnover-worthy play on Jackson. We downgrade Flowers for the drop. Then there was another play later in the first half where Jackson does overthrow Mark Andrews. It hits DJ Turner, the cornerback for the Bengals, right in his face mask, and he doesn't catch it. That one gets downgraded because that was a turnover-worthy play that he whiffed the throw and threw it right to DJ Turner, but he didn't catch it. But the interception, actually, Jackson got a positive grade for that one because it was a perfect throw that Zay Flowers just didn't catch. So two opposite ends of the spectrum there, where an interception doesn't have to be a turnover-worthy play because it's not Lamar Jackson's fault. And then you have a turnover-worthy play that didn't turn into an interception because, well, as my old coach Fab at St. Pete used to say, defensive guys can't catch. So, these things happen.
Right. And also, I think this is another good one because somebody else in the chat is saying other quarterbacks have more turnover-worthy plays, but you guys still have them ranked higher than Bo. Well, not every turnover-worthy play is ranked exactly the same. We've talked about this before here on the show. The way that we try to quantify things as much as possible is we have a grading scale where neutral would be a 0.0. If you have a slight positive where it's like, oh, okay, like that, you went above and beyond on this play and you did a good job here. That could be a 0.5. It could be a 1.0. It could be a 1.5 or a 2.0. That's the scale that we have of, okay, this play was a little bit better than expected. Okay, this play was a lot better than expected. Holy cow, this was an unbelievable play, and oh my gosh, this is the greatest play that I've ever seen anybody make. That's sort of the scale that we have, and then it goes the other way as well. For some of those Bo turnover-worthy plays, like I think that it could be, okay, yeah, he was just a little bit late on this throw. The accuracy wasn't exactly what it needed to be. Some of those turnover-worthy plays, I don't have it right in front of me right now, but could have very well seen as, okay, this is a minus 0.5, or actually, doesn't the turnover-worthy play start at a -1?
Correct.
So the turnover-worthy play, if it's going to be considered a turnover-worthy play, it starts at a -1, and then like, whoa, okay, this is an egregious turnover-worthy play. You're throwing it in double coverage. You had no business throwing that, something like a 1.5. And then, yeah, I mean, like if you're just throwing it right to a defender or something, that could be a -2.0. So there's certain data points and stats that we have, but we also try to contextualize those as much as possible. So all of this is a scale that tries to get us to evaluate the game as true as possible on a play-by-play basis, make sure that we're taking every single play into account where we are grading how well a player executes what is asked of them on a singular play. So that's how we get to that. I knew that people would have questions about Nick, so I knew that we would get into that a little bit. But the fact that he had
four of them,
and he still graded out with an 84.7 overall passing grade, that shows you just how good, how impactful, and how much credit we give Nix for those big-time throws that we had, because he was awesome in this game.
Still had the 5th best passing grade in the whole NFL.
Despite
in
four
the NFL
turnover-worthy plays.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yep.
Because we're harsh. We are, I think this is another thing before we move on, like, we are pretty harsh on turnover-worthy plays. Like when you have a fumble, a throw that should have been intercepted or could have been intercepted, I probably should say, we're pretty hard on those because, like coaches will preach all the time, turnover battle, you can't, turnover margin, whatever. We cannot lose the turnover battle in this game and expect to win. We are harsh on turnover-worthy plays for the exact reason that NFL coaches, college football coaches, any coach would be harsh on a play, because they know when you put the ball in harm's way, when you allow the other team to go get it and create a turnover, the chances of you winning the game are much less. So, again, for Nix to have the 4 turnover-worthy plays and still be the 5th highest graded passer on the week, that just shows you how good we graded those big-time throws as plus throws.
You want another just fun bit of context on the rankings just for this week?
Sure.
So take the top 11 quarterbacks in passing grade this week, okay? Bo Nix had 4 turnover-worthy plays. The other 10 combined had 2. That's how high Bo Nix's highs were.
Yeah.
A mile high, maybe. Sorry, I had to do it.
I can hear the boos from the production
I hadn't heard
suite
Eli
from here.
booing me in about a month and a half, so we're getting there. But either
There's
way,
no way it had been that long.
all of the guys that he's up here graded with this week are guys that had, most of them had none. A couple of them had 1 turnover-worthy play. But Bo Nix, again, just it felt like just every time they needed him to make a play, especially outside the pocket. Does it feel like he's getting better outside the pocket and really staying calm when he's improvising? That to me feels like the hard part of defending Bo Nix right now. He's so willing to move and be that playmaker on the outside.
Last question on this one. What's an explosive play? Who decides that? Coaches do, actually. Because coaches are the ones that categorize explosive plays as 10 or more yards on the ground, 15 more yards through the air. That is often the standard of what an explosive play is. Now, some coaches might be a little bit different. Like I've heard some coaches go like either like 13 or 17 yards, through the air, or like some of them on the ground, it might be like 11 plus or something like that. But as a standard, sort of like what a lot of coaches will use is 10 yards on the ground, 15 yards through the air. That's what's categorized as an explosive play.
Correct. I know there's some with the passing might go with 20, and it's also something we can sit around and look at.
I've heard some coaches. One coach was like, 17 plus. I was like, why 17? Very curious about that. But coaches have different ways of saying like, okay, once we hit this type of play, it has such an impact on what the rest of the game is going to be, or what the rest of that drive is going to be. That's how they categorize an explosive. But a general rule is 10 on the ground, 15 through the air. But Some coaches are a little
and
bit
anytime we mention those, either here or on the college football show, like and subscribe, it is 10 and 15. We go with those rules, 10 and 15. Anytime we talk about explosive runs, it's 10. Explosive passes, 15.
Yep. For the Packers, most disappointing, just before we move on, Packers injuries. Because unfortunately, we talked about this on last Wednesday's show. If the Packers went into Denver and won this game, there was going to be an insane amount of talk. Every single sports football show that you were going to listen to was going to talk about the Green Bay Packers as the Super Bowl favorites. And not only did they lose this game, they lose Micah Parsons for the season. And I didn't see what the final injury call was on Christian Watson, but it didn't look good. He left the game with a chest injury. Which chest to me doesn't sound good, because chest to me makes me think it's collarbone.
Seems to not be major though.
Oh, okay.
So maybe it's something that keeps him out this week. They play the Bears again this coming week, but it's not major. I think it was also the case. Zach Tom left the game with a knee injury as well, and that seemed to be something that they should be able to manage. They're not major injuries, but obviously the Parsons one hurts the most, as he's going to be out for the season with a torn ACL. And the biggest weakness to me of this Packers team last year was their inability to disrupt quarterbacks with a four-man rush. We are right back to that now without Parsons the rest of the way. Is Jeff Hafley going to be able to get enough of a pass rush with Rashawn Gary, with Lucas Van Ness, with Devontae Watt, with those guys on the inside without a blitz? Is he going to be able to get enough pressure in those moments without blitzing, or is he just going to dial it up to a Brian Flores level of blitzing and go, we have to be able to get pressure? The problem there is, like you saw in this game against Cortland Sutton, against Troy Franklin on the outside.
Yeah.
Does he trust his corners enough to blitz at that rate? Because when you get into the playoffs, you're playing Nakua and Adams for the Rams. You're playing Brown and Smith for the Eagles. You're playing, if the Lions make it, St. Brown and Jamison Williams. I mean, you're going to play, Jackson Smith and Jigba on the outside for Seattle. We're right back now, to me, on defense to last year's defense with Green Bay.
Yeah.
Can you get enough pressure with a four-man rush, or is Jeff Hafley going to have to dial it up and trust these corners? That's a dangerous spot to be in without Parsons. It's a huge loss.
Last one, just because the questions have been very PFF centric. So I'm answering this one, and then we'll move on to the next game. This is just an example. It said, okay, well, hold on, for quarterback play, what about if a slant is set and it's taken to the house because of a perfectly placed ball? Well, there's a world where that could potentially count as a big-time throw, because big-time throws, it's not just about, we don't just have specific if this throw is more than 20 yards in the air, that counts as a big-time throw. We also have a little bit of a caveat, a little bit of a context wiggle room, where it's like, hey, if it's also a really well-placed ball and it's, between tight coverage, we could give that a big-time throw, even if it's a little bit shorter, or even if it's like a 10, 5-yard throw. So there's a world where a throw like that could be seen as a big-time throw. But I would believe, you might know more than I do, but I believe more often than not, if, let's say, it's a true, the receiver, extremely clean release, is able to get that separation, quarterback in rhythm, 3-step drop, boom, hitting it to the wide receiver, straight to the hands, in stride, taken it to the house, it's gone. I think more often than not, we would probably categorize that as a positive play for the quarterback, but more of this is a 0.5 and less of this was a big-time throw type of it.
Yeah, if you're talking a slant that's caught at, say, 8 yards and then housed for another 60, that wouldn't be considered. That's considered obviously a positive throw if it's beyond the sticks and things like that. A lot of times,
but a quarterback would probably get a little bit of a positive if it's a plus accuracy throw, because we have that as well. We have contextualized throws when it comes to accuracy, so we have just an accurate throw, which is above just a completed throw. It's okay, was this accurate? Was the ball placement exactly where it needed to be? We have plus accuracy throws, which is what this would probably go into this category. You're gaining probably a 0.5, plus 0.5 on this play. Not quite a big-time throw, but we're recognizing that you at least place the ball in a great spot for your receiver to make a lot out of it. But then we have on the other side of things catchable inaccurate throws, and then also uncatchable inaccurate throws.
Yeah,
we contextualize all of this stuff, guys.
It's fun, and some of the big timers they're easier to see. Like when you just get the teardrop 40-yard go ball, right? Down 40 yards down the sideline. That's an easy one. As long as if they really drop it in the bucket, you're big time throw. That's it. So it's actually a lot of the intermediate ones that are fun, right? We have sometimes debates on, you get those far hash 15 to 17-yard outcuts, right? Jordan Love is actually one of the best guys at throwing those. And it's like, man, that you couldn't throw it any better. And they always, even scouts talk about that. When you're scouting guys for the draft, they're like, hey, can he make that 17-yard outcut? Like those types of throws that if they're perfect, right? Those intermediate ones can be a lot of fun. You mentioned tight windows as well. That does play a factor.
Yep. And the last thing, Ad's in the chat saying a tipped pass or a dropped pass with a perfect ball placement shouldn't go on the QB, and it doesn't. Just like you talked about with Lamar.
Not here, it doesn't.
Not here, it doesn't, because we are truly trying to grade the full context and the execution of every single play, and that's why our grading scale is what it is, and that's why we do what we do. Anyways, the Los Angeles Rams and the Detroit Lions faced off. The Rams were victors here, 41-34. It looked like the Lions might win this one, and then the Rams just, were the Rams again. Top 5 graded players that we had for the Los Angeles Rams: wide receiver Puka Nacua with a 95.0 grade in this one. He is unstoppable, man. Tight end Colby Parkinson with an 88.9. Offensive guard Kevin Dotson an 80.9. Linebacker Omar Spates an 80.8. Wide receiver Devontae Adams a 79.9. And then Matthew Stafford with a 71.7. On Detroit side of things, wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown with a elite 90.1, overall grade. Edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson, 89.7 with an interception. Almost housed it. Couldn't quite get there. But a great play from him nonetheless. Wide receiver Jameson Williams, an 89.3. Avonte Maddox with an 83.2. Offensive tackle Penny Sewell, a 76.1. And then Jared Goff, an 84.1. Stat that told the story, Dalton. What do we got?
To me, look, I know this was a high-scoring game, and Jared Goff played really, really well. But at the end of the day, the Lions have to be able to run the football to win. And the Rams did a better job of that in this game. The Rams ran for 159 yards. The Lions only 70 yards before contact. The Rams' offensive line was the better offensive line in the run game in this game. 2.9 yards before contact per carry. Just for reference, if you get to 2 yards or more, your offensive line's run blocking at a pretty elite rate right there, or you're getting to the outside untouched way too often. Detroit, 0.8 yards before contact per carry. If you're at 1 or fewer in a game or across an entire season, you have a real problem. Only 1 explosive run for Detroit in this game, and the Lions are now 0-6. It's just a clear cutoff. I know I probably sound like a broken record at this point. I do this every other week, it seems like. They're 0-6 when they have less than 100 designed rushing yards, and they're 8-0 when they have more than that.
Yeah.
Simple cutoff. And at a certain point, and again, Jared Goff was really good in this game, especially the play-action concepts, attacking the middle of the field. St. Brown and Jameson Williams were outstanding. But if you walk up to Sean McVay and you ask him, hey, you're about to get in a quarterback duel, Stafford versus Jared Goff, it's the exact reason they traded for Matthew Stafford 4 years ago in the first place, is that they can win these types of quarterback duels with Stafford more often than they can win them with Goff. That was the case in this game. I just think the Lions, if they're not balanced, if they can't run the ball at an elite clip, their offense isn't designed to be one-dimensional, even when Jared Goff plays well. And actually, there's something I want to look at right now is I want to see if some of Jared Goff's highest-graded games, right, how many of those have they lost? Because I look at this. Let's see. Washington they beat. Chicago they beat. This game, 84.1, third highest graded game of the season. They lost. Green Bay, 81. They lost. Kansas City, graded an 80. They lost. Giants game, 75.6, although Gibbs went crazy in that game. That game went to overtime. But they're losing games when Jared Goff is playing really well because this team is not designed for Jared Goff to win it for them first and foremost. So it's none of this is on him. They scored 34 points on a really good defense.
Right.
But they couldn't control the pace of it. And if you ask the Rams, hey, do you want to get in a QB shootout, Stafford versus Goff, they're going to go, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Why not? Let's go.
Right. I do agree with that. I think that the Rams were very clearly okay with getting in a shootout here. The Rams in the second half, excuse me, my eyes watering like crazy. Rams second half adjustments. That was I think what told the story, because we were 24-17 in this game coming at halftime. Detroit had the lead. Detroit had a touchdown lead here. First 3 drives of the second half, 17 points for the Rams, 92.9 overall offensive grade in those first 3 drives. 17 points. Lions, their first 3 drives of the second half, 0 points, 3 3-and-outs, 54.6 overall offensive grade. one team came out very ready for whatever the other team was going to do, and the other team did not. And that to me is just how the Rams ended up winning this game. And Detroit would have taken up by 7 going into half all day long against the Rams. They had them exactly where they wanted them, and the Rams just came out on fire. The Rams are one of the few teams in the NFL this year, in my opinion, that actually have the ability to have 2 different games within one game. You have that first half and you have that second half. They're one of the few teams that I think can actually make full-scale adjustments when they go into halftime. And that's, to me, what makes them one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL, especially when they've got Matthew Stafford to execute those adjustments on the quarterback side.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got a mastermind play caller. You've got a savant-level quarterback with generational arm talent. You've got, right this minute, the hottest receiver in football. And I mentioned, before 70 rushing yards for the game. And again, you mentioned the Lions were ahead at halftime by a touchdown. They ran for 20 yards in the second half of this game on 8 carries. They were ahead, but they couldn't control the pace of this game. And when it started to speed up, that's when it gets hard for the Lions, is when they really have to be over-reliant on the passing game. They don't want to have to do that.
Nakua, I agree with you, was the best player in this game. 94.6 receiving grade, 9 receptions, 181 receiving yards, 3 missed tackles forced, 8 first downs. I mean, he was unbelievable in this game. He was the best player in this game. He's been the best receiver in the NFL all season long. He's incredible. Most disappointing for me, honestly, is the Devontae Adams injury. Looked like a pretty brutal hamstring injury. Not sure they're going to get him back for the rest of the regular season. I didn't see what the final call was after the game, but I mean, that didn't look pretty from him.
Didn't look great, and I believe wasn't it a hamstring that was already bothering him, I think, and he was kind of working through. I'm pretty sure that was the case. So tough to see that, and hopefully, I mean, for the Rams' sake, they're obviously the first team in the NFC to clinch a playoff spot. They're trying to win this division. How about a huge game coming up in Seattle on Thursday? They're likely going to have to play without him, but get him back for the playoffs. He's really been the guy that's beaten man-to-man coverage in this offense, and he's been arguably the best red zone threat in all of football. So he's somebody they're going to need to win a Super Bowl, but they do have some time, knowing that, yes, they're still trying to win a division, but knowing that they're going to make the postseason, they don't have to play it too aggressive for these next 3 weeks either. And if they do happen to get the 1 seed, you buy them an extra week of rest before you get to the divisional round there in the playoffs.
Anything else on this game before we move on? Because there's something in the chat that I wanted to address.
One more guy I just want to shout out. How about the young third-year tackle Warren McClendon Jr. at right tackle for this Rams team, filling in for Rob Havenstein? And honestly, you might have to just leave McClendon in here for the duration. How about an 84.2 run blocking grade in this game? Only 1 pressure allowed as a pass blocker, and over his 4 starts. The last 4 starts he's made since Week 12. How about an 86 PFF grade for the young third-year tackle? I mean, Warren McClendon, to me, when I watch this offensive line, I'm like, man, who is this just mauling people next to Kevin Dotson here at right tackle? He looks awesome. I would just leave him in there the way he's playing right now. I know Havenstein's a veteran. He's a long-time starter. He's got to get healthy. But, it's hard to take this kid off the field right now at right tackle for the Rams.
Yeah, no, I think that he's playing real. And just everybody on the Rams, it feels like he's just playing so supremely confidently.
Oh, fun update on remember I was doing the team offensive grading stat here?
Yes.
Check this out. So this game, 87.4 offensive grade in this game. The Rams now have 7 of the top 20 highest graded offensive games as a team. The only other teams with multiple, the Lions have 3 of those top 20. I believe Philadelphia, I think, has 2 of them.
Yeah.
The Rams have 7, and there's only 2 other teams that have more than 1 of the top 20 graded games on offense this season.
That's pretty wild.
Ridiculous.
That is pretty wild. Wes in the chat saying that you claimed earlier that PFF assesses plays using several variables. How can Puka get such a high grade and score when the Lions practice squad was playing in the secondary? Which key Lions secondary players were on the field? So obviously, they're talking about the fact that Brian Branch wasn't in this game, Kirby Joseph's not in this game, Terrion Arnold's not in this game, DJ Reed was, and it's Rakestraw Jr. He's been on IR as well. So no, there's no doubt about it that the Lions secondary is beat up, but that's not really the point of what PFF grades are. PFF grades are grading how well you are executing what is asked of you on a single play. So, yeah, I think that you can look at a PFF grade. And look, we've said this before. PFF grades, there's no way that it could take into account quite literally everything. You can't grade for example, like the context like this, I think that there's no point to saying, yeah, Puka played really well, but how do we ding his grade or throttle his grade because he wasn't playing against that good of competition? That's think something that the grade wouldn't be able to do.
I think that's something that's fun to actually just come on here and talk about,
right? Exactly,
right? Where
exactly.
you go, okay,
yes.
you know, he was great in this game, but
yes.
it was against a team with a terrible secondary or beat up secondary.
Super beat up secondary.
You know,
yes.
or I'm sure some people out there, like Trevor Lawrence's game we talked about earlier, historic game, and some people out there will go, well, yeah, it's the Jets. I go,
yes.
well, it still happened, right? And actually, I don't know if I can put the guys on the spot here. Can we? One thing I want to show with Puka Nacua real quick that I just thought of, just pertaining to that and who he's going against. If we could pull up the game report here, if we get a shot to for this Lions and Rams game, because something we do have for each game. If you go into we have all the box score reports in the top right corner here, and if we can go to the Rams there, and if you go to receiver matchups. All right, this is a fun one. So you get an idea of, okay, you know, did Puka Nacua there, did he pick on one guy? Who did he pick on? And that whole box right there gives you an awesome breakdown. You know, against DJ Reed there, 4 targets against DJ Reed, who is the Lions' best corner, right? 3 catches made for 79 yards. Man, that's a pretty good day for Nacua against the Lions' best corner. Then you look at somebody like Amik Robertson, you know, with the third guy there who lines up in the slot. 2 catches against him for 22 yards. Rock Yassin, the other outside corner, you know, for 2 catches and 19 yards. One on Derek Barnes, you know, gets isolated on a linebacker in zone coverage. Different things like that. That's something I really like looking at. Is sometimes you get those primetime matchups, or you get a guy like Nacua where he's moving all over the formation. He's beating everybody, right? So it doesn't matter. You can be the Lions' best corner in DJ Reed. You could be somebody else trying to keep up with him, match up in zone. You can be inside, outside. This guy right now, it doesn't matter who he's playing, doesn't matter who he's matched up with. He's going to tee off on all of them.
Yeah.
Because he's right now, I mean, him and Jackson Smith and Jigba, they've really been the 2 best receivers in football.
And the reason why I wanted to answer this question specifically is because I wanted to highlight like what you really want to use PFF grades for. And it's truly a tool. It's truly part of the conversation. Now, I think that we do a really good job of contextualizing how well a player executed in a single game, but you would take Nakua's grade, and then within conversation, you could say, look, Nacua really executed well and beat up on an injured Lions secondary, but then that's what you say. You can talk about
as
more
he
context.
should.
Exactly. So we wouldn't, in order to add that element of the context to it, that's what we would do here on this show. That's what we would hope anyone would be doing when they have a PFF Plus subscription, when they can see the grades, is that they're able to apply the context that I wouldn't say like the grades can't, but the grades wouldn't really. Like you again, like going back to it, we wouldn't throttle, or we wouldn't take down Nakua's grade just because the competition level wasn't great. His grade is what it is. How he played is what it is, and that's what we grade when we get into the PFF grades. It's then the job of the people taking that and the conversation around it to say, hey, here's other context that, again, not just that the grades wouldn't, but shouldn't take into account. And that's why the grades, we've always said, are a great tool for how you talk about it.
We definitely would not on a play-to-play basis be thinking about, you know, if he torched a corner on an out and up or something like that, caught a deep ball, we would not go, well, it was a Lions backup, so it was easier. Like, no, actually the grades and the spread that you're going to have on them over the course of the game is probably going to tell you that anyway. Or we've talked a lot about like the Chargers and all their injuries on the offensive line. We're grading pass rushers the same against them, and we're grading them the same despite them being backups. They're on the field. They got to get out there and perform, and if it's, you know, that's the reason the Chargers are one of the worst pass blocking teams in the league, well, that's going to show. Yeah. It's going to show you that, yeah, they can't block elite pass rushers.
Yeah.
Could that be a problem eventually?
Right.
Sure. Was it this week? Maybe not.
Right.
But we're not going to, on a play-to-play basis when we do this, we don't take into, oh, well, this is their backup left tackle, so let's take it easy on them. Unfortunately, sometimes that's not how it works, and on the upside, you know, it's not how it goes. We're going to grade everything just neutrally as we see it happening on the field with whatever 11 guys are out there.
Yeah, ADZ is saying, like, I'm just trying to figure out how these grades work, and that's why, like, I love seeing these questions and I love answering these questions because I think a lot of people are out there like that. And then he goes on to say, every time I think somebody plays really well, sometimes he'll get a low PFF grade. And I think that a lot of people are like that because anyone who might be new to PFF and what we do here, they'll take a look at the common stat sheet, and that's really the only reference that you have. And sometimes these guys have really good common stat sheets, but then you look at the PFF grade, well, you're like, whoa, hold, how did that player have a low grade? Well, we're trying to be as good as we can here on the show about being transparent about how we are trying to grade the execution and performance of every single play, knowing that every single play could make or break a game. And there could be a level of paramount importance on every single play. So how you perform and how you execute on every single play, whether the guy actually caught it or not, whether the defender actually caught it or not, whether you fumbled the ball or not, like those are the things that kind of go into it. So we'd love for you to keep watching this show. We will continue to be as transparent as possible with how we get the grades, because that's what we want to do here. We want you guys to have a ton of confidence in having a PFF Plus subscription to where you guys can see this stuff as well. And we don't just want you to have a PFF Plus subscription because we want you to see the grades. We want you to use the grades. We want you to talk about these when you have conversations with your friends or whoever it is. And so we want you to not just have access to the grades. We want you to be able to explain, hey, actually, this guy had a really good common stat score, but PFF had it a little bit lower, or even better. Sometimes a guy didn't. Like for offensive linemen, right? Offensive linemen is the big thing where it's like there's no stats for offensive linemen, and yet we hopefully feel like we can do a good job contextualizing when offensive linemen play really well, and we can recognize when guys are playing well and give them their kudos and their flowers and all that kinds of stuff. So that's what we're trying to do around here. So did never have any problem answering any questions that you guys have and being as transparent as possible with those. Colts and the Seahawks, the next game we're talking about here for our grades release show. Seahawks win this game at the very end. Took them to the very end, though.
Dicey.
18-16 was the final score of this game. I don't think anybody thought that this was going to be this close. Certainly the fine folks in Las Vegas, Nevada didn't. They had this, 13.5? They had the Seahawks favored by 13.5.
They thought Phillip Rivers would go down without a fight, man.
Well,
jeez.
Yeah. No, he wasn't going to go down without a fight. Top 5 graded players that we had for Seattle. Linebacker Drake Thomas in the 82.9. Offensive tackle Abraham Lucas in 82.8. Safety Kobe Bryant at 79.3. Offensive guard Anthony Bradford at 78.4. Safety Nicky Manwari a 77.2. And Sam Darnold in this game a 64.4 overall grade. Indianapolis' side of things, safety Nick Cross. I thought he had a great game. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. He had an 81.2 overall grade. Offensive tackle Bernard Ryman with an 81.1. Edge rusher Samson Ebukam with a 77.6. Cornerback Kenny Moore II with a 73.1. Center Tanner Bordolini a 72.4. And then quarterback Phillip Rivers back after 5 years. 55.5 overall grade. Dalton Seth told the story.
He gave him a chance to win, didn't he? I mean, they had the lead with under a minute left.
He absolutely gave them a chance to win.
He sure did. But the biggest thing, and I mentioned this in the preview, and this is going to sound a lot like what I just mentioned for the Detroit Lions, if the Colts don't run the ball, it in all likelihood won't matter. And it got pretty close to not battering on the winning side, and Rivers just finding a way to carry them through it. But Colts only 97 rushing yards in this game on 30 carries, just one explosive run from Jonathan Taylor. 55.2 rushing grade, their third straight game with a rushing grade under 60, and only forced 4 missed tackles on the ground. Much like the Colts, they're kind of my AFC version of the Lions, no matter who their quarterback is. The Colts are now 1-6 when they rush for less than 100 yards. It's pretty much that simple. They have to be able to get behind this offensive line and control the pace of the game and run the football. Now, their defense was outstanding in this game. Phillip Rivers came in like the veteran that he is and managed things well and did give them a chance to win at the end. But the Colts are just going to have a hard time winning games, scoring points, if they don't run the football at an elite clip like they were the first half of the season. And right now, with Rivers and only completing 2 passes beyond 10 air yards the entire game, and those were the 2 drives that set up the touchdown and the go-ahead field goal in the last minute. But there's not enough vertical ability in this offense to be able to succeed and back people off. This offensive line, these tight ends, they have to play at an elite level up front. Jonathan Taylor's got to play at an elite level for this team to win. If they don't crack 100 rushing yards, and probably a lot more than that moving forward here, they're not going to win ball games.
This is pretty much what it is for the Indianapolis Colts. Because I thought that the first half, their defense was excellent.
Oh, yeah.
3 out of Seattle's first 5 drives were 3 and outs. 68.2 overall defensive grade for the Colts in the first half. They played really well. They had Sam Darnold rattled. Seattle was not able to move the ball. They even had Jackson Smith and Jigba dropping passes, which never happens. So They gave themselves a chance to win this football game on the defense side of things. And I think, to me, that's really the stat that told the story is the Colts stepping up on defense, because we talk about, all of the rushing attempts they gave Jonathan Taylor, Phillip Rivers being able to complete a couple of passes here and there to keep these drives going, to keep Seattle off the field, all that stuff. But it really was, in my opinion, the Colts defense that kept this game close for a really long time, put the Seattle offense behind the 8 ball before it was almost too late, but then obviously they come back and they get up on the scoreboard at the very last second in this game. But to me, how well Indianapolis' defense played, that's the stat that told the story. And I was impressed by Nick Cross as well. 81.2 overall defensive grade, which we talked about in the top fives. 79.5 run defense grade, 75.0 coverage grade. I thought he was all over the place. He played excellent. He was a big part in why this game was so close.
Are we a little worried about this Seahawks offense? This has gotten to be this is a theme now. This has gotten to be a theme now in recent weeks, where very, very slow starts on offense have kept teams in games.
Yeah.
The Atlanta game, the Minnesota game, they did not look very good on offense. Honestly, it was just that their defense overmatched the Vikings. Even the Tennessee game, a few weeks ago, it felt like it just took them some time to get the engine running. And they need to find a way to get this run game going. The interior offensive line, to me, has not looked great lately. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet have just not been able to rip off explosive runs. And the first half of the year, it felt like this team would come out after the opening whistle like gangbusters, and then kind of lay off a little bit as they were ahead. And now it feels like they've had to really step on the gas in the second half of these games. Remember, even the Falcon game last week was 6-6 at halftime.
Right.
And they find it, and it's great that they find it. But this was a game where they almost didn't find it.
Right.
And they were down in the last minute of this game to Phillip Rivers on 3 days of practice.
Right. Not good.
This week, going home and playing the Rams, possibly without Devontae Adams. This feels like it's going to be a litmus test, probably for both sides of the ball, but especially for the offensive side, because they have not gotten off to great starts in these games lately. And I'm a little worried about that, where sometimes you get teams that get off to slow starts, and then you get a game or two where it just sticks for the whole four quarters. You don't want that going into your biggest game of the season, a game that could really decide possibly this NFC West race this Thursday. They need
Thursday night football.
Night football, Rams at Seattle.
Jeez.
And I mean, I don't remember the last time these two teams played a game this big, but I mean, obviously a few weeks ago, a month and a half ago they did. But I mean, this is like possibly for the division, but Seattle needs to get off to better starts in the first half of these games here.
We got a couple of really good games next week. Thursday night football is lit. Sunday night football is Saturday night football.
Well, that's Packers-Bears, isn't it?
It's Packers-Bears.
Sunday night's Patriots-Ravens, I think. That'd be a fun one.
It is Patriots-Ravens. We've got Bucks versus Panthers. 1 o'clock.
First place Buccaneers.
First place.
Somehow, some way.
That's for first place to the division. I can't wait for both of these teams to tie 13-13. And then in the 4 o'clock window, we got the Jags and the Broncos. Ooh.
What happens if the Bucks and Panthers both? What if they tie in both of those games? Wouldn't that be fitting?
Then it would go to division record, right?
I think the Bucks win that right now.
Do they win that?
I think they're in first right now because of the division record, because the Panthers.
Let's see.
The Panthers getting swept by the Saints.
Panthers are 2-2 in the division, and the Bucks are also 2-2 in the division.
Oh, then it goes to.
What's the next one?
Is it common opponents or is it conference record? That's one. I
think it would be conference record, because the Bucks are 5-5 in the NFC. No, because the Panthers are 5-4. So what's the next tiebreaker? Why do the Bucks currently have the tiebreaker over the Panthers?
I'll find it. We'll find it here. Let's see.
Maybe it's record versus teams indoors, because the Panthers are 0-2.
Yeah, but that's.
I know that's not going
to
be it.
You can't go to a.
The Bucks are 3-1 indoors, brother.
Well, maybe they should build a dome down there in Tampa. It's too darn hot down there, especially early in the season. Anyway,
they're never going to do that.
No, of course they're not.
What is it?
Let's see. I'm going to find it right now. We're going to find it right now before we move on to the Brock Purdy show. There. Let's see. The Buccaneers. It is common games.
Oh, okay.
So it's got to be.
I don't have common opponents
Well,
here.
it's basically the fact that the Bucks are. The Bucks are 1-1 against the Saints, And the Panthers are 0-2. That's a big factor.
But then the Bucs lost to...
They lost to the Falcons. There's something else in there.
It's the Rams. The Rams game.
The Rams
Because the Bucs got blown out by the Rams.
Yeah, but the Bucs are in first place. They're winning the tiebreaker right now. We'd have to dig through and find it. But it's right now, its best win percentage in common games goes to the Bucs. Your first place, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I think the NFL's got it wrong. That's right, I said it. Titans and 49ers.
It's in the script, Trevor.
Titans and 49ers. What's in the script?
Buccaneers. We'll get there. Let's get through the Niners, and then we'll get to that.
Titans and the Niners. 49ers win this game 37-24 is the final score. Top 5 graded players that we had for the San Francisco 49ers. Offensive tackle Trent Williams with a 95.6. 95.6? What is this, 2023? They're turning back the clock here?
Turning back the clock. The clock just keeps going. It doesn't matter. 37 years old, he's doing that. Best player on the field still.
Tight end George Kittle right behind him with an 89.8. Wide receiver Ricky Pearsall an 88.0. DeMarcus Robinson an 87.6. Edge rusher Cleveland Farrell with a 73.3. And then Brock Purdy in this game, 91.0 overall grade. On Tennessee side of things, also offensive guard Kevin Zeitler with a 90.9. Offensive guard Peter Skoronski with an 87.5. Tight end Gunnar Helm with an 80.9. Boy, Gunnar Helm's been looking good second half of the season here. So is Tony Pollard right behind him, number 4, with a 79.8. Offensive tackle Oli Udoh with a 79.5. Cam Ward a 59.1 overall grade. Is that the total story, Dalton?
Kyle Shanahan's just really good at what he does, man. I mean, the 49ers had the ball 8 times, and they scored 7 times, a season-high 86.7 offensive grade. Brock Purdy with a season-high 90.7 passing grade. And the 49ers, as they do ball control as good as anybody in the league, had the ball for 37 minutes. The offensive line was dominant, especially in pass protection. Brock Purdy had all day to throw. And I really like that Shanahan came out against this team. The Titans' run defense is actually pretty good. It's the most redeemable part of their team right now. The secondary is not. He let Brock Purdy come out and throw it in the first 4 plays of the game. And I thought really just let him control. Let him have some fun out there. And I think you want to attack this Titans team through the air. They were just outstanding all the way around. This was the 49ers. I think you could easily argue their most complete effort offensively. And despite, again, all of the defensive injuries that they have, you put up 37 points, you're probably going to win a ball game. They were efficient. The run game wasn't spectacular, but they mix it in, obviously, enough to get the job done. And then this was Purdy's best game of the season. It was kind of good to see him get the confidence back after it's been up and down for a lot of the season. Obviously, he's been hurt, but if he's going to be healthy and playing like this the rest of the way, we can't forget about Sam Fran both in this postseason race and in the NFC West race as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you were onto something. What was it, a month and a half ago, where you were very subtly saying that if the 49ers make the playoffs, Kyle Shanahan should win Coach of the Year. I don't disagree with you now.
Obviously, Mike Vrabel's a great candidate.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson's a great candidate.
Yeah.
But look what
I mean, the 49ers,
they've got the offense back.
Can
and
they
now,
not still win the division at this point?
Sure.
What if this team wins the division?
Then
This would be the quietest.
I will probably stump for Kyle Shanahan regardless because
Yeah.
they're most likely going to make the postseason.
Yeah.
But if they win the division, I think
he wins it.
I know Mike Vrabel has done such a great job in New England, and Ben Johnson's done a great job in Chicago. But
Yeah.
the injuries and what this team had to deal with,
right.
And
Yes.
Mac Jones starting, 6 games or whatever.
Didn't have Brandon Ayuk at all this season.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa's out after week 3. Don't have Mykal Williams. Don't have Fred Warner.
This is what I'm saying. And yet, they're going out in a
Didn't
game.
have Brock Purdy for what? 4 games? 5 games?
I might have been more than that. I'd have to check their record again with Mac Jones, but I mean.
Didn't George Kittle miss time too?
Yeah.
George Kittle missed time?
He missed 3 or 4 games, yeah. And they're 10-4.
It's crazy.
I mean, with yes, a legitimate chance to win the division. I mean, they've got Colts, Bears, Seahawks, some huge games left to go. But, I mean, they've won 5 out of 6. They look great on offense. Brock Purdy's starting to get the confidence back. I mean, no, this is where I've been saying. I'm like, if this team with all of these injuries makes the postseason, first of all, just the confidence they have, just knowing, hey, we're just going to find ways to win games. They're one game scenario, they're going to be dangerous in the playoffs. You don't want to deal with Kyle Shanahan in the playoffs the way with this offense reasonably healthy now, right?
Yeah.
And Trent Williams blocking like that and George Kittle healthy and all. I mean, the defense is going to eventually probably be their undoing, but Kyle Shanahan can coach his way through adversity. He's proven that all season.
San Francisco's offensive efficiency, I agree with you, is what was most impressive in this game. How they were able to control the ball, how efficient they were on all their drives, time possession, offensive grade, everything. I mean, they were so solid. For the Titans, Tony Pollard, now back-to-back weeks, 81.3 rushing grade, 77.7 rushing grade in this game, over 100 yards in each of the last 2 weeks, over 3.5 yards per carry average. Nice to see.
Yeah.
Nice to see.
Jeffrey Simmons.
Jeffrey Simmons having a hell of a year.
Caught a touchdown?
One of his best years. Oh, yeah, caught the touchdown.
Great stuff. Man, how about Jeffrey Simmons knowing how to run the scramble drill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Christ.
Well, he was the only receiver who went against the grain, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because like Ward was running to his right, and then everybody scramble drilled to that direction, and then Simmons was like, all right.
To be honest with you, the throw against the grain, watching Cam Ward as long as we have.
That's what he does, yeah.
That's the throw that he's going to want to make.
Right,
That's the fun one for him. And then just my most impressive, I just have to point out Trent Williams. It's just, I know it's against Tennessee, but look, 90.3 passing grade. 0 pressures and 41 pass blocking snaps. Ridiculous. 95.1 run blocking grade. And just very quietly, because it seemed like he had a kind of quiet first half of the season. Trevor, do you want the list of offensive tackles for the year graded higher than Trent Williams right now? Unless you can just name all of them.
How many are there?
2.
That have graded higher than Trent Williams?
This for the entirety of the season, there's only 2 tackles graded higher than Trent Williams right now.
Overall grade?
Yeah.
He's third?
He's third. 37 years old.
Wow. I didn't think he was that high. Is Sewell one of them?
Penei Sewell.
Okay.
He's by a good margin, and then the second one's closer.
Is Wirfs the other one?
Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Because he had a just insane game here, too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
That's it. Trent Williams at 37 is still the 3rd highest graded tackle in football.
Wow, I didn't think he was that high. I knew he was having a decent year. I didn't know it was like vintage 3rd highest graded tackle in the NFL.
Yeah. It's never even vintage with him. It's never gone away. It's just insane.
It's true.
Ongoing. It's ongoing. The vintage is forever. I don't even know what to say at this point. It's just Trent Williams. Then I throw the tape on. I'm like, yeah, still got it. The technique's great. The athleticism, the power, just everything is still there. He might be the Tom Brady of tackles. Might be. That would rock, actually.
That's some high praise.
If we got a 44-year-old left tackle, quarterbacks are one thing. We've seen old quarterbacks. If you got like a 44-year-old Trent Williams out there just still mauling people, that would rule. You think Shanahan would let him do it? Like 45 years old, Trent Williams?
What?
Be a starting left tackle.
At 45?
Yeah, why not?
No, probably not.
I bet he'd still be at least above average. Let him do it. Trent, play as long as you want, man. Still the best in the business.
All right. Panthers and the Saints. Saints win. Defend home dome here 20-17. Top 5 graded players that we have for the New Orleans Saints. Wide receiver Devon Vele with an 89.0. Edge rusher Cam Jordan an 81.1. Safety Jonas Sanker with a 76.8. Offensive tackle Kelvin Banks Jr. with a 76.5. Linebacker Demario Davis with a 75.2. Tyler Shuck in this game. 80.6 overall grade. Hell of a game from him. Carolina side of things, wide receiver Jalen Coker was their top graded player with an 84.3. Edge rusher Travis Gibson with an 81.1. Cornerback Mike Jackson with a 72.3. Offensive guard Damian Lewis with a 72.1. And then cornerback J.C. Horn, a 67.7. Bryce Young in this game, a 78.4. Not bad, but they don't get the win that they desperately needed here to get a game up on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sad to tell the story.
So this was, first and foremost, I think, just got to be a frustrating game for Carolina. Up 17-7, and then the offense just kind of shut it down in the fourth quarter. And I think a big part of that throughout the game was I thought the Saints' edge rushers really got the better of Carolina's 2 tackles, Ike Ekwonu and Taylor Moton, in this game. You look at the Saints' edge defenders, and this is a defensive line that hasn't always been great, obviously, the last couple of years for New Orleans, but the edge defenders specifically, 68.3 PFF grade. How about a 77.4 pass rush grade for that unit? Second best for the Saints this year, and a 40% pressure rate. Carl Granderson, Chase Young, Cam Jordan. Those 3 guys deserve a ton of credit for the Saints' defensive production in this game. Obviously, as pass rushers there, but even in run defense, and Brandon Staley going on early downs to a lot of 5-man looks on the defensive line when the Saints had 5 or more defensive linemen out there, only gave up 3.1 yards per carry. They really, kind of like they did in the first game. They loaded the box. They loaded the line of scrimmage. They forced Bryce Young to beat them. Now, was Bryce Young good in this game? Yeah, but it wasn't good enough to get more than 17 points, and the bigger plays, the explosive plays, were kind of few and far between. So I really thought this was a game, the more I watched it. The Saints' defensive line as a whole, I thought played well, but I really thought their edge defenders, those 3 especially, Granderson, Jordan, and Chase Young, were all really, really good throughout the whole fourth quarter, or 4 quarters.
And that's what they did well the first time that they played Carolina, honestly. They just won up front. They weren't able to – they did not allow Carolina to get anything going on the ground, and they were able to just sort of bully them at the line of scrimmage. I thought that on the other side of things, the Saints' offense on early downs was really impressive. 78.2 passing grade on early downs. Let me see the final passing numbers here from Tyler Shuck. So you had 272 passing yards, Dalton, in this game. 213 of them came on early downs, first and second down. What I love about what Kellen Moore did in this game is they know they can't run. They know they cannot run the football. So the only chance that they really have in this game is to, I don't want to say abandon the run game, but not make it in any way part of setting up what they want to set up. The run game was simply a supplement to what they wanted to do in the passing game, and they treated it like that because they cannot run the football. That's not a great way to build your team, but when you're at this point in the season and you don't have anything else, they can't run. So on early downs, first and second down, the downs where you usually sort of establish the run and stay balanced, they're like, why would we do that? Why would we waste a down?
I would argue
we don't have to.
I would argue on the other side to what's the same thing that you're saying, that Carolina's biggest mistake offensively is that they didn't let Bryce Young do that enough in these 2 games when Brandon Staley was stacking the box and going with 5-man fronts and daring them to throw on first down. I'd be curious if you could pull up the numbers on Bryce Young on first down especially, how much they let him throw and what the percentages there were, because that feels like it is a big difference in this game where the Saints, you're right, because of their inability to run it, sure, but sometimes even if you're a team that can run it really well at times, like Carolina, but you're just banging your head against the wall, you got to let your quarterback take the game over. And the Saints, obviously they were behind by 10 in this game, and they kind of had to let Shuck do it, but I could easily argue, at least from what I watched, I need to see the percentages, that they should have let Bryce take this game over on early downs a little bit more often. And they would have been more efficient on early downs.
So he had 8 attempts on... Well, they let him... So he had 88 passing yards out of his 163 that came on the early downs. So they weren't very explosive on the early downs. But they did have him drop back a decent amount. He had 18 attempts out of his 24 that would have come on third down. But yeah, they very clearly just didn't let him let it rip on those earlier downs.
Let me see something. Let's see. First and second down, 22 pass calls, 18 runs.
Right.
Little closer to 50-50. Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure some of that, too, you get to the last drive or two, and it really gets down to him. But to me, it felt like, 4.9 yards per attempt on early downs. It just felt like they didn't – there's almost this now –
Well, it feels just a little more hesitant on the early downs.
Yeah.
And that has been a little bit of my complaint of Canales for the last couple of seasons, but even again, like going back to when he was – the offensive coordinator with the Buccaneers. A lot of things were it was to me like more balanced than it needed to be for a while.
Like he didn't want to break the sequence.
Yes.
Right?
That's kind of how it felt.
Because this offense is very much based first and foremost in get behind this offensive line, get behind these tight ends. We want to be a more physical team, which is great.
And we can't be too harsh on it because like that is what they do well.
No, it is. It absolutely is. But sometimes... And to me, the best moments for this Panthers offense when they have gotten hot this year is when they just that just one time per game. We go back to that one throw against the Falcons, right? We think of that early in the third quarter, those 2 straight big-time throws. Mm-hmm. And it's that one explosive through the air that can just make them respect it. and then you start the sequence over.
Right.
And instead of just trying it step one all of the time, there felt like moments to me where Carolina, it was just like, hey, can we throw a haymaker before we have to? Could we throw just one haymaker on first down, like on 1st and 10, and just loosen the reins on this defense a little bit? Because the more the Saints are lining up in these 5-man fronts, in these heavy fronts, there was too many stretches of this game for me, for Carolina's offense, that looked like the first game, where I'm like, okay, they're running right in the teeth of a stack box again. Right. Just a little backwards. I'm not saying all the time. I'm not saying you have to do it for a whole game, but maybe just one drive, right? Take a shot on first down. Maybe get a little tempo going. Let's get the 2-minute offense going, maybe for a drive, and just see if it sparks some things through the air. That's the one thing that frustrates me with Carolina watching these two games. Is it feels like it always has to be in a certain sequence. And sometimes defenses just don't let you stay in that sequence.
Yeah.
And that's what the Saints did really in both of these games. Carolina did a better job. They got 17 points in this game instead of, I believe it was 3 they scored the first time, or maybe 6. But it's not enough. I need your quarterback to be a threat on any play. And there's stretches of games to me where it doesn't feel like they want to do that.
I just feel like Carolina was a little too conservative in this game. I felt like...
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the best...
I just felt like on offense and defense, it felt kind of a conservative game plan from them. And they didn't really go out and take the opportunity that they had when Tampa dropped on Thursday.
Yeah.
It was more of a, let's try to not screw it up and wait for the Saints to screw it up. And with the way that Chuck played last week against the Buccaneers, and just the way that New Orleans tends to play at home, clearly it was not aggressive. It wasn't terrible. They lose this game by 3, right? It's not like they got blown out. It's not like it wasn't a contest. But I do think that Carolina just played a little bit more conservative than they needed to, because I do think they're the better team, but they weren't able to showcase it in this game.
And that's been the Saints' MO all season. Let's see how long we can keep ourselves in these games.
Right.
And they're starting to get some wins out of it. They've won 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
They just need, you know what? They made the switch to Shuck, and he's not making big mistakes. And that keeps you in ball games for sure. First team you got to not beat is yourself, right?
Most impressive for me is Tyler Shuck. Just over the last 2 weeks, played really well. They've been able to rally around him. He's at least giving us something to think about when it comes to whether or not the Saints are going to draft the quarterback.
Oh, they're not going to.
It doesn't seem like it.
No.
Doesn't seem like it. But, 3 games is a long time in the NFL. We'll see. We'll see. Anything else on this one before we move on?
Quick, most impressive for me, Chris Olave showing up when it matters most. How about 5 catches in the final 5 minutes of this game, creating 4 explosive plays, the game tying touchdown, and a big catch on the last drive to set up the field goal. Penalties were another. That was another thing. I think it was 11 penalties for Carolina in this game. Nowhere near the next team we're going to talk about, but still kind of a lot. The
final game, let's turn the clock back to Thursday Night Football. Atlanta Falcons take down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 29-28 was the final score here in this one. Top 5 graded players that we had for the Atlanta Falcons. Tight end Kyle Pitts with a 90.4. Offensive guard Chris Lindstrom with a 79.4. Defensive tackle David Onyemata, 75.0. Center Ryan Nuzio with a 73.2. Offensive guard Matthew Bergeron, a 72.6. Kirk Cousins, a 78.2. On Tampa Bay side of things, Tristan Wirfs, yes, a 97.0. It's one of the highest graded games for an offensive tackle I've ever seen. Wide receiver Mike Evans with an 84.8, back in action. Wide receiver Mecca Ibuka, an 82.4. Defensive tackle Logan Hall, a 76.5. Offensive tackle Luke Gedeke, a 73.7. And then quarterback Baker Mayfield, a 67.3. Dalton Stath told the story. What do we got?
You want me to go first? Okay, I'll go first. All right, I didn't know if you had anything you need to get off your chest there or what. But
no, the Bucs need to clean house, this entire coaching staff. That's what I would say.
The first place Bucs.
Yes. The rare wins the division, but do what you need to do in the offseason.
Aren't the Bucs the ones they won the division at 8-9 that year too?
Yeah. Yep.
Man.
Yep.
Might do it again. We'll see.
I think the team is sort of like at each other's throats now,
that part's not great.
No. That's the part that's bad. Like Mike Evans, even like Vita Vea and Hassan Reddick and Antoine Winfield Jr. were like, it looked like sort of bickering is probably the best way that I would say it. They weren't like yelling at each other, but they were clearly like loudly talking at each other of how did this just happen at the very end? How did they allow this team to get into field goal range? How could this possibly happen? And then Mike Evans afterwards, you see the video of him being pissed. He's yelling 3rd and 28 as he goes to the locker room. And according to Joe Buck's fan who was down there, they said that he absolutely like lost his mind afterwards after the video like cut off. You have after the game Emeka Egbuka afterwards in the locker room saying like, oh, well, we got to get together. We got to, we got to talk with everybody in the locker room, and we all got to like get together. And essentially it was saying like, we got to remember we're on the same team, because basically right now it feels like the offense hates everybody who's on the defense side of the ball. And I just think that that's it. And then you have Todd Bowles afterwards basically saying, coaches can't do any more. Players have to execute. And it's like, okay, I don't think you're wrong. You can't really say that when your team's at each other's throats. It's just it's a horrible look, man. It's a horrible look. Yeah. I'm going to stop talking before I say too much.
Well, one reason it was a struggle defensively is because, as we've talked about all season, the Bucs just cannot get pressure with a 4-man rush. This team has to blitz to get any pressure on quarterbacks. And look, the 42% of the time that Todd Bowles blitzed in this game, for the most part, it worked, right? Because Kirk Cousins, he's not going to move. He's not going to improvise. He can't really throw off his back foot anymore. He was 9 for 18, just 6.5 yards per attempt, a 60 passing grade against the blitz, right? Through 2 touchdowns. But for the most part, their defense looked a lot better when they were blitzing. Kirk Cousins against non-blitzes, against a standard rush in this game, Trevor, 87.3 passing grade, 21 of 26, 256 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 big-time throws. When they allowed Cousins to be comfortable in the pocket because they can't get any pressure with a 4-man rush, Kirk Cousins beat him. And he's done it 3 times now. He's torn them up 3 times now while in Atlanta, right? Apparently, Kirk Cousins isn't great unless he sees those Tampa Bay creamsicles on the other side, and then he looks fantastic. He looks like the best Kirk Cousins we've ever seen. And I think, to me, what embodies this the most is that very last sequence. You talk about 3rd and 28 and all of that, right? The start of that drive, Trevor. Todd Bowles blitzes on 1st and 10, gets a sack, 2nd and 18. Todd Bowles blitzes again, holding penalty, 2nd and 28. Todd Bowles blitzes on 2nd and 28. Cousins throws off his back foot, incomplete. 3rd and 28. No blitz, sits way back in quarters, gives up 14. 4th and 14. Sits back, cover 2. Sills just walks to the sticks. And your flat corners up on a swing on Bijan on 4th and 14. It just, that sequence right there, 5 plays embodied the whole thing. When they blitz, against this quarterback especially, they were just fine. And the second he had to let off the gas, because, well, you're not really going to find any defensive coordinators who blitz every single play. Maybe Todd Bowles wants to. Maybe he should at this point. That's just what it came down to. All year, among all the problems they have on defense, to me, it starts with the fact that when they only send 4, they get nowhere.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. And Jamel Dean's been hurt. Zion McCollum's not going to be out for the next 4 games. The linebackers absolutely cannot cover. Savasier Dennis, Levante David. David can't run anymore. Dennis can't cover.
Deion Jones in this game, which is, we've spoken to the lack of depth
Jones, they
since
just
the
signed
beginning
Anthony
of the
Walker Jr.
Yeah.
Like, it just, they have nothing. They have no pass rushers. They have no one who can win as a one-on-one winner. Kalijah Kancey being out hurts this team more than most people realize. He's basically the only one who can get pressure consistently, even with Hassan Reddick out there. It's just if this team wins the division, I think they get absolutely killed in whatever first game they play, unless Baker Mayfield himself absolutely turns it around. Because Mayfield's also, if Mayfield, I've talked about this over the last couple of weeks, and I've talked about it specifically on the preview show that we do on Wednesdays. And over the last 3 weeks, every single week I have highlighted uncatchable, inaccurate passes that Baker Mayfield has. And this week it was a little less. It was like 22% instead of 37%, which was league leading that he had, that we talked about on the Wednesday episode. But Mayfield is also why this team is not winning right now. And I understand he's playing hurt. People are going to be like, oh, he's playing with a hurt shoulder. And I'm not even saying that Teddy Bridgewater would be better. I'm just saying that, like, how he's playing is not going to win you football games right now.
At least in this game, Because I would say it was erratic, but he was good enough.
He was better. I would use the word better. I wouldn't even use good.
The throw to Ibuka and that whole offensive play calling sequence right around the 2-minute warning.
You talking about the last throw?
Yeah, that could have been.
Has to hit it.
Could have been better.
Has to hit it. Dalton.
Yeah.
Dalton. The words are has to hit it.
Yeah.
Has to hit it. You have to hit that throw. You're a starting quarterback in the NFL. You have to hit that throw. And I'm not trying to be overly harsh. I'm not trying to say like one play matters than like everything else. But the fact of the matter is, you hit that throw, game's over.
Yep.
Your game up on Carolina, and now you would have been
one win, possibly from the division.
You would have been one win possibly from taking the division again. Hit the throw. And Mayfield does, right? Like, I won't take that away from him. He's not shying away from it. Afterwards, he goes, this one's on my shoulders. This one's going to sting. I have to hit that throw. But he's not wrong. He has to hit, and that's been the story of this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. All the injuries that they have dealt with, a defense that is not figuring it out right now, and a quarterback that is far too erratic for you.
Yeah.
That's the story of the Buccaneers. And even if they win the division, if they are playing the way that they're playing right now, they get smoked in whatever playoff game it is.
The one bit of good news offensively that comes out of this is he was a little better.
He was a little better.
A little better.
Yep.
And with Mike Evans out there, who was their best player on the field, because of course he was.
Yep. He's a stud.
They, in recent weeks without him, you could tell they did not have an answer for man coverage. They at least have the man coverage answer, which is still, in the year 2025, chuck it up to Mike Evans.
And it'll often work.
And it still works.
Yeah.
So you at least have that.
Yep.
And you probably won't see a ton of man-to-man coverage next week against Carolina, so that'll be a different task. But you know what? 3-game season now for both of them.
Look, we said that it was going to all come down to the 2 out of 3 games that they play here at the end of the season, that they play Carolina. And it is. Like, that's good. I can't wait for Bucs-Panthers Week 18 to get flexed to Sunday Night Football.
Tirico and the boss?
Because the winner of that game has the most on the line when it comes to a playoff spot. Sunday Night Football, Week 18.
Well, it could either
Buccaneers, Panthers.
It's either that or...
Because that one's in Tampa, right? I think the last one's in Tampa.
Correct. That one's in Tampa.
Yeah,
this week is Carolina.
In Carolina.
What week is Raven? If we get Ravens Steelers, too, it could be that.
Damn, it could be that.
I don't know if they'd go Bucs Panthers over Ravens Steelers.
Yeah, you're probably right. No, just ratings alone, they wouldn't do that.
Maybe.
Nah, I don't think so.
Bryce?
If both are winner of the division gets to the playoffs, they won't pick Bucs Panthers.
Damn.
Yeah.
It would be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
I guess Seahawks Niners. I guess Seahawks Niners is here too.
You don't think Chris would request to go to Tampa? Nice warm Tampa in the second week of January instead of Pittsburgh. Go somewhere nice and warm for the last week.
Because I think those are the only ones. Seahawks Niners.
Oh, a one. If we could get there, maybe this one's a maybe. You could there's a scenario where you have Lions Bears for a playoff spot, for the last playoff spot.
Oh yeah.
Because if the Lions are going to make the playoffs, they probably have to catch the Bears.
Right.
They're rooting for the Packers, I think, pretty hard this week.
They can't catch the Packers?
That's more of a win out, lose out thing because the Packers beat them both times. The Lions beat the Bears way back when. The Bears catching the Bears is, I believe, more likely for Detroit than catching the Packers would be, because they lose the Packers tiebreaker. They actually would rather just the Packers beat the Bears again and have it come down to Lions Bears. That'd be a fun one.
Getting a little ahead of ourselves, though. We got a couple weeks till we get there.
It's only a couple weeks away, Trevor.
It's week 15 in the books, folks. Well, not quite. We got Monday Night Football coming up.
Big game.
Dolphins Steelers.
Big game.
This is a big game. You know why this is a big game? A little bit of a preview of the Wednesday show. I was different than you on 3 games.
Yep.
And I won all 3 of them.
You did. You're catching up.
So if I get this, because you had a 5-game lead on me going into this week. I picked the Dolphins. You picked the Steelers.
Yes.
So if the Dolphins win this game, I'm right on your heels, baby.
3 weeks left.
You only got a 1-game lead on me when it comes to when it comes to picking games this season.
The playoffs will be tense for us too. Don't you worry.
It will be, because we're going to be going down to the wire. It's going to be a fun one. Appreciate everybody rocking with us today, hanging out with us in the chat, watching it live. Like we've said throughout the show, if you guys don't have a PFF Plus subscription, we talked a lot about PFF stuff, grades, how we get to them, all that good stuff. You can get it and you can see it for yourself using the promo code HOLIDAY30 to get yourselves 30% off of a PFF Plus subscription, which if you do that, you get more than just the grades and the premium stats. You get the player prop tool for betting. You get the fantasy football tools. You get the fully unlocked mock draft simulator. All of that fantastic stuff. We'll be back with you on Wednesday for that preview show where we will pick some more games. We'll see if I'm down 1 game or 2 games to Dalton in the season series here. I'm just excited to get a couple so we can be closer so I didn't have to just like bend logic to pick some of these games, down the stretch. Because we were nearing that territory.
Yeah, I know. There was some hard ones this week, though.
We're creeping back up, and we know that these games down the stretch last 3 weeks, they mean a lot. So we'll see you guys on Wednesday. For everybody behind the glass producing the show for Dalton Wasserman, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the PFF NFL show. See you guys on Wednesday. See you then.